Most of us have felt it. The quiet, persistent pressure of society pushing us to fit neatly into predefined roles. Be polite, stay quiet, follow the rules, smile more. From an early age, we're subtly trained to value approval over authenticity and kindness over courage. We're taught to soften our edges, to blend in, to accept mediocrity as normal, and yet, beneath this polished surface, something deeper stirs. It's the part of you that longs to stand up, speak out, and live without apology. It's the quiet but powerful voice that asks, is this really the life I want? The truth is, society rewards compliance and discourages genuine strength. Being kind and agreeable earns us acceptance, but it can also cost us our sense of self. Too often we sacrifice honesty to avoid conflict, stifle ambition to avoid judgment, and trade our boldness for quiet conformity. But what if kindness isn't always a virtue? What if the constant pursuit of external approval is precisely what holds us back from living fully, freely, and powerfully? Philosophers throughout history have recognized this tension between conformity and authenticity. They understood that true inner power isn't about aggression or dominance, it's about clarity, resilience, and unwavering self-respect. Inner power isn't found in applause or popularity. It emerges when you stop needing validation from the outside world. It's what happens when you reclaim control over your own thoughts, emotions, and decisions. It's what transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy practiced by some of the strongest minds in history, teaches that real strength comes from within. It isn't measured by how much praise you receive or how often you win. It's defined by your ability to remain calm and purposeful, regardless of circumstances. Stoics understood that life is inherently unpredictable, but our response to it is entirely within our control. By practicing self-discipline, emotional mastery, and radical responsibility, they developed an unshakable core of inner strength. Yet, in today's culture, genuine inner strength is increasingly rare. We live in an age that often mistakes kindness for virtue, comfort for happiness, and passivity for peace. But kindness without boundaries becomes self-sacrifice. Comfort without challenge becomes stagnation. And peace that comes from never speaking your truth isn't peace at all, it's silence. If you've ever felt trapped in the role society has assigned you, this video is your wake-up call. It's an invitation to step beyond the limits imposed by others and to reclaim your own authority. It's about becoming unstoppable, not by overpowering others, but by mastering yourself. It's about recognizing that kindness without courage is weakness, and that true kindness must first begin with being honest with yourself. Building inner power isn't about becoming loud or forceful, it's about becoming solid. It means knowing what you stand for, even when others don't understand it. It means making choices that align with your values, rather than reacting out of fear or habit. When you stop living for approval, you start living with intention. And in a world that constantly tries to shape you, that quiet kind of strength is what sets you apart. Imagine facing life's greatest challenges with a spirit that refuses to be defeated. A character so robust that every setback becomes a setup for a comeback, a demeanor so composed that even chaos seems to bow before it. What does it mean to possess such an unstoppable nature? Is it a relentless drive that propels us towards our goals? The quiet strength to stand firm in the face of adversity? Or perhaps a mindset crafted through the diligent work of self-mastery? Throughout history, philosophers have pondered the essence of an indomitable spirit. They've left us a legacy that transcends the boundaries of time and culture, a blueprint for building a character that can withstand the vicissitudes of life. Today, we peel back the layers of this timeless wisdom to explore the philosophical roots of character building. The very notion of character has been the subject of much debate and contemplation. The ancients believed character was a form of excellence, achievable through virtue and ethical living. It was Aristotle who spoke of virtues as means to achieve eudaimonia, a state of being that embodies the best possible life for a human. Stoics like Epictetus and Seneca taught us about the power of inner freedom and resilience, while philosophers like Nietzsche challenged us to forge our own path in the face of life's inherent meaninglessness. In our modern era, we often equate being unstoppable with success or power. But in the rich narratives of philosophy, literature, and history, being unstoppable is not about what one achieves, but rather how one persists. It's about the relentless pursuit of virtue in spite of life's inevitable trials. It's about the unwavering commitment to one's own principles in the chaos of existence. It's about the quiet, steadfast defiance against the torrent of life's challenges. But why should we care about these voices from the past? Because the challenges faced by Socrates, the doubts entertained by Marcus Aurelius, the individualism championed by Emerson, these are not so different from our own. In their struggles and their victories, we find timeless strategies for building the fortress of our character. Learning from historical figures in philosophy and literature is not a mere academic exercise. It's an act of engaging with the greatest minds who ever lived, of understanding the principles they lived by, and of applying this profound knowledge to cultivate an inner strength that remains unshaken by the ebbs and flows of fortune. By standing on the shoulders of these intellectual giants, we gain a vantage point from which to view our own lives. We learn from Nietzsche the importance of embracing life's struggles with passion. From Emerson, we understand the value of self-reliance. From the Stoics, we acquire the wisdom of discipline and the power of differentiating between what is in our control and what is not. As we embark on this exploration of becoming unstoppable, let's not seek mere inspiration, but transformation. Let's not just look for answers, but for the right questions. Let's not just adopt philosophies, but adapt them to the fabric of our daily lives. With each philosopher's insight, we gain a tool, a perspective, a weapon with which to carve our path through the dense forest of existence. Today, let's begin this journey together, not just to learn what it means to be unstoppable, but to take the first steps in actually becoming it. Friedrich Nietzsche stands as a colossus in the landscape of philosophical thought, casting long shadows over notions of strength, struggle, and the indomitable will. Nietzsche's exploration of the human condition was not a gentle contemplation, but a vigorous challenge to the very foundations upon which traditional morality was built. He saw the human spirit not as something to be tamed, but as a wild and powerful force to be harnessed. For Nietzsche, the concept of the will to power is central. It is not merely a thirst for dominance or a craving for authority over others. It is, at its core, a fundamental drive to reach the fullest potential of one's being. He believed that all of life is an expression of this will, a desire not just to survive but to expand, to create, to become more. Struggle, therefore, is not an obstacle to this will, but a means by which it is realized and expressed. In Nietzsche's eyes, to embrace the struggle is to affirm life itself. With all its pain, suffering, and uncertainty, it is to say yes to existence, to take upon oneself the task of carving out a path through the wilderness of life. To do this, Nietzsche presents us with the concept of Amor Fati, love of one's fate. This love is not passive resignation, but an active embrace of all that life throws our way, the good, the bad, and the inevitably complex. It is a celebration of life's experiences as the artisan's clay, as the raw materials from which we sculpt our character. Applying this idea to our contemporary existence calls for a radical re-evaluation of our challenges. The stress of a demanding job, the pain of a personal loss, the frustration of failed plans, these are not merely trials to endure, but opportunities to assert the will to power, to reaffirm our commitment to personal growth, and to exercise our capacity for resilience. In practical terms, Amor Fati transforms our approach to everyday life. Instead of evading or begrudging the inevitable adversities, we can meet them head-on with a spirit of creativity and vigor. The setbacks in our personal and professional lives become moments not of lament but of potential. When a project at work collapses, instead of succumbing to defeat, we can look for the lessons in that failure, finding ways to rebuild our approach. When we face personal hardship, we can search within it for the strength we didn't know we had, to emerge not just intact but enhanced. Moreover, this philosophy has profound implications for our collective life. In a world often fractured by strife and competition, it offers an alternative vision, a society that sees struggle not as a source of division, but as a universal experience that can unite us in pursuit of greater goals. It encourages us to view the challenges of our time not as insurmountable obstacles, but as catalysts for innovation, cooperation, and progress. To live with Amor Fati is to live with a certain kind of optimism, an optimism not rooted in the naivety that life is without difficulty, but in the robust conviction that we have the power to weave those difficulties into the larger tapestry of our lives in meaningful and transformative ways. It is to recognize that in the crucible of challenge, we are given the chance to test our mettle, to refine our souls, and to emerge as individuals who are not only unstoppable, but unceasingly evolving. By integrating Nietzsche's teachings into our lives, we embrace a radical form of self-empowerment. We become artists of existence, authors of our fate, and architects of a character that can stand unshaken amid the storms of chance and change. This is the ultimate exercise of the will to power, not conquering for the sake of conquest, but for the profound purpose of becoming who we are meant to be. As we continue our journey through the philosophy of character, let us carry with us this Nietzschean insight, that in the tapestry of our lives, every thread of struggle is intertwined with the possibility of growth, that every moment of hardship bears the seed of an emergent strength, and that in the heart of every challenge lies the potential for an unstoppable character. In the end, Nietzsche challenges us not just to withstand the onslaught of life's struggles, but to welcome them, to greet them with a resolute smile and an open heart, to dance with them in a celebration of life's unfathomable depth and richness. This is the path to becoming unstoppable, a path not of avoidance, but of engagement, not of weakness, but of profound, unwavering strength. Ralph Waldo Emerson has left an indelible mark on the fabric of American thought through his essay Self-Reliance. With a pen dipped in the ink of individualism, Emerson crafted a treatise that echoes with the call for personal integrity and the importance of self-trust. Emerson's Self-Reliance is not merely an essay. It is a clarion call to break free from the shackles of societal expectations and to cultivate a life of personal authenticity. Emerson challenges us to look inward for guidance and to trust our own intuition above the din of external opinion. He argues that there is a divine spark within each of us, an inner voice that guides us towards our true purpose. This voice, this profound sense of self, is what we must rely on to navigate the complexities of life. To Emerson, the individual is not a mere cog in the social wheel, but a singular entity capable of extraordinary insights and boundless creativity. The heart of Emerson's philosophy lies in maintaining personal integrity. This integrity is not a rigid adherence to moral dogma, but a flexible, living principle that evolves with our understanding and experiences. It's about being true to one's own nature, even when it goes against the grain of convention. It means valuing our own perspectives, even when they stand in stark contrast to the chorus of the crowd. In our journey to become unstoppable, Emersonian self-reliance offers a roadmap. It suggests that to build an indomitable character, one must cultivate an unwavering trust in oneself. This trust is not the product of arrogance, but the offspring of deep self-awareness. It requires a relentless questioning of received wisdom, a boldness to chart our own course, and the courage to stand alone if necessary. To develop this kind of self-reliance, one must start by understanding oneself. Engaging in introspection, journaling, meditation, or any practice that fosters self-knowledge is key. It is in the quiet moments of reflection that we can hear Emerson's aboriginal self whispering its wisdom to us. It is also through the challenges we face that we can test and reinforce our trust in our own capacities. Each time we overcome an obstacle by relying on our inner resources, we strengthen our self-reliance. Furthermore, Emerson urges us to embrace our uniqueness, our quirks, and our eccentricities. The journey to becoming unstoppable is not about conforming to a mold, but about shattering it. It is about recognizing that what we have to offer cannot be replicated, for it is born of our individual experiences, insights, and creative sparks. In the modern world, where there is often a high value placed on social conformity and a fear of standing out, Emerson's words ring out as a potent reminder of the power of the individual. Self-reliance also extends to our capacity to rely on our own resources, intellectual, emotional, and material. In a society where dependency on systems, institutions, and external validations is commonplace, Emerson's philosophy prompts us to develop independence. This might involve learning new skills that allow for self-sufficiency, making decisions that are aligned with personal values rather than societal pressures, or finding contentment within oneself instead of seeking it from external accolades. However, Emerson is not advocating for a life of isolation. Instead, he envisions a community of self-reliant individuals, each bringing their unique strengths and insights to the collective table. Such a community would be unstoppable in its progress, for it would be built on the solid foundation of individuals who are true to themselves and who encourage others to do the same. In suggesting ways to apply Emerson's principles to our lives, we might start by taking small but firm steps towards self-reliance. It could be as simple as making a decision without seeking the approval of others, or as significant as taking a stand for a belief that might be unpopular. It might mean choosing a path that is less traveled but more in tune with one's deepest convictions. To walk in Emerson's footsteps on the path to becoming unstoppable is to walk in the direction of self-trust, integrity, and authenticity. It is a path that asks not for external validation, but for internal fortitude. It is a journey that calls not for the faint of heart, but for the bold in spirit. And on this path, we forge not just a character of resilience, but a life of profound meaning and unparalleled originality. As we continue to weave through the tapestry of thoughts from those who have sought to define the essence of an unstoppable character, let us take Emerson's message to heart. Let us recognize that the journey to becoming unstoppable is in fact a journey of becoming more deeply ourselves. It is in the garden of self-reliance that the flowers of our most profound achievements and our most enduring strengths bloom. Marcus Aurelius, the last of the 5 good emperors, stands as a paragon of the philosophy he practiced. Stoicism, a philosophy grounded in virtue, reason, and self-control, finds one of its highest expressions in his timeless work, Meditations. Composed as a series of personal writings and reflections, Meditations offers profound insights into the discipline of action and thought, which are as relevant today as they were in the 2nd century. At the heart of Aurelius's teachings is the principle that we have control over our minds and can be undisturbed by external events if we maintain discipline in our thinking. For Aurelius, discipline is not just an abstract virtue, but a daily practice, a way of life that anchors both action and thought. He teaches us that an unstoppable character is not one that never faces obstacles, but one that maintains composure and purpose despite them. A disciplined mind, according to Aurelius, recognizes that thoughts shape reality and that self-mastery is the highest form of power. He suggests that we must guard our thoughts with vigilance, for they have the potential to either enslave or liberate us. By adopting a disciplined approach to our thinking, we can maintain equanimity in the face of life's vicissitudes. To cultivate such discipline, Aurelius advises us to start each day by preparing for the challenges ahead, anticipating the difficulties we may encounter, and resolving to maintain our composure and virtue regardless of the circumstances. He recommends a habit of self-reflection, where we examine our actions and motives at the end of each day, learning from our mistakes and reinforcing our commitment to our principles. The practice of discipline in action, for Aurelius, is equally essential. He asserts that our actions must be purposeful and aligned with our inner values. The discipline of action involves doing the right thing, even when it is difficult, maintaining our integrity, and performing our duties with diligence and care. This kind of discipline requires us to be present in the moment, fully engaged with our tasks, and not distracted by trivialities. To build habits that support an unstoppable character, Aurelius recommends setting a clear intention for what we wish to achieve and aligning our actions with this intention. This means being deliberate in our choices, not leaving our actions to chance or whimsy. It also means being steadfast in our efforts, not swayed by immediate gratification or fleeting desires. Moreover, mental practices such as meditation and visualization can be powerful tools in developing the discipline of thought. By regularly visualizing ourselves acting with composure and purpose, we can reinforce the mental pathways that lead to disciplined action. Meditation, too, can help us cultivate a centeredness and calm that remains unshaken by external events. Aurelius's concept of synergy between thought and action is another critical aspect of building an unstoppable character. He emphasizes that thought and action are not separate. They feed into each other. Disciplined action reinforces disciplined thought and vice versa. Each good deed and each virtuous thought echoes in the chambers of the soul, building a resonance of character that can withstand the trials of life. Furthermore, Aurelius teaches us about the impermanence of external circumstances. By reminding ourselves that all is ephemeral, we can maintain perspective on our challenges and not be overwhelmed by them. This perspective instills in us a kind of mental fortitude that is untroubled by the prospect of failure or the allure of success. We become unstoppable not because we do not encounter resistance, but because our commitment to our path remains unwavering in the face of it. Discipline, as taught by Marcus Aurelius, is thus a kind of inner citadel. It is a fortress within which the character resides, unassailable by the chaos of the external world. It is the force that guides us through the storm without losing direction, the inner compass that points steadfastly towards our true north. In applying these Stoic principles to our lives, we can start by identifying the values that are most important to us and making a commitment to live by them. We can create routines that nurture our physical, mental, and emotional well-being, providing a stable foundation for disciplined thought and action. We can also seek out communities and environments that support our commitment to discipline, surrounding ourselves with reminders of the path we have chosen. As we continue to explore the philosophies that shape an unstoppable character, let us reflect on the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. Let his meditations serve as a guide for our own, and let the discipline he espoused be the bedrock upon which we build our unshakable selves. Our journey does not end here, for each philosopher's vision offers unique facets to the gem of character we seek to polish. As we weave their insights into the narrative of our own lives, we come ever closer to embodying the unstoppable spirit they championed, an enduring testament to the power of the human will when guided by wisdom, discipline, and the courage to look within. Lucius Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, statesman, and playwright, held a particularly insightful view of adversity that can dramatically shift our approach to life's inevitable challenges. His writings provide a manual for developing an unstoppable character by transforming the way we perceive and interact with hardships. Seneca's perspective on adversity is profoundly counterintuitive. He suggests that we should welcome challenges as we would a friend, for they come bearing gifts, the opportunity for growth, strength, and self-discovery. He writes, "Fire tests gold, suffering tests brave men." It is through the heat of adversity that the metal of our character is tested and our resilience is forged. The notion that challenges can be used to build a stronger character is deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. Seneca believed that life's difficulties are not merely to be endured, but to be used as tools for the building of one's inner fortress. It is through facing and overcoming obstacles that we develop the virtues of courage, patience, and endurance. To cultivate this mindset, Seneca advises us to alter our relationship with adversity. Instead of perceiving obstacles as insurmountable barriers, we can choose to see them as hurdles that are surmountable and even essential for progress. The strategy here is to reframe our perspective, to view adversity not as a detour on our life's journey, but as an integral part of the path itself. One effective way to reframe obstacles is through the practice of voluntary discomfort. By deliberately placing ourselves in challenging situations, whether it's through public speaking, physical exercise, or any activity outside our comfort zone, we inoculate ourselves against the fear of future adversity. These self-imposed challenges act as a training ground for our spirit, much like an athlete trains their body, preparing us for the larger trials that life will inevitably present. Seneca also encourages the practice of reflection in the face of adversity. When confronted with hardship, instead of reacting impulsively with frustration or despair, we can take a moment to reflect on the situation. This reflection can involve asking ourselves what virtues can be practiced in this moment, what lessons can be learned, and how we can respond in a way that aligns with our highest values. Another strategy Seneca suggests is to draw upon the wisdom of the past, to look to historical figures who have faced and overcome great challenges. By studying their lives and learning how they dealt with adversity, we can find inspiration and guidance for our own situations. This is not merely an academic exercise, but a process of drawing upon the collective human experience to find strength and wisdom. Furthermore, Seneca advocates for a deep appreciation of the transitory nature of life's troubles. By understanding that all hardships are softened by time, we can foster a sense of patience and endurance. The knowledge that adversity is not permanent can help us to maintain our composure and keep our struggles in perspective. In addition to these philosophical strategies, Seneca recommends practical actions that can help in building an unstoppable character. Cultivating a network of supportive relationships, for instance, can provide both comfort and advice when facing difficulties. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle with regular exercise and a balanced diet can also strengthen our physical resilience, which in turn supports our mental and emotional fortitude. Lastly, Seneca's thoughts on adversity remind us to focus on what adversity teaches us about our own capacities. Each challenge we overcome is a testament to our capabilities and a confirmation of our potential for growth. It's crucial to take time after each obstacle to reflect on what we have learned about ourselves, our strengths, weaknesses, and the boundless possibilities of our personal development. Through the lens of Seneca's wisdom, adversity is reimagined, not as a foe to be feared, but as a sage that challenges us to evolve. It is a powerful force that can either defeat us or lead us to greater heights, depending on our response. In the process of confronting and mastering adversity, we craft ourselves into individuals of indomitable spirit, into characters truly unstoppable. By embracing Seneca's teachings, we ensure that our journey through life is not defined by the hardships we encounter, but by the strength and grace with which we surmount them. Epictetus, born into slavery and later achieving his freedom, emerges from the annals of history as one of the most practical philosophers of antiquity. His teachings are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and a guide to unyielding strength of character. At the core of his philosophy is the dichotomy of control, a concept that delineates the boundary between what is in our power and what is not. Epictetus, in his Enchiridion, crystallizes the essence of this concept by stating, "Some things are in our control and others not." It's a simple yet profound maxim that forms the bedrock of Stoic tranquility and effectiveness. According to Epictetus, an unstoppable character is not one that attempts to control the uncontrollable, but rather one that masters what lies within their domain, their perceptions, intentions, and actions. The importance of this philosophy in contemporary life cannot be overstated. In a world brimming with uncertainty and factors beyond our control, the dichotomy of control serves as a compass that helps us navigate through the chaos. By focusing our energy on our own actions, choices, and attitudes, we conserve our mental and emotional resources and channel them towards constructive change. For modern implementation, consider the professional who faces a sudden downturn in the market. While the market's movements remain outside their control, their response does not. They can choose to lament the unfairness of circumstance, or they can focus on adapting their strategies, learning new skills, and finding creative solutions within their control. Another example is found in personal relationships. We cannot control how others behave or feel, but we can control our responses. When faced with conflict or misunderstanding, the application of Epictetus's teaching would have us look inward, managing our own emotions and reactions, thereby maintaining our composure and integrity. Furthermore, this mindset can be applied to self-improvement. While we may not have control over our innate talents, we do have control over the effort we put into developing them. The student who may not grasp a subject as quickly as peers can choose to dedicate additional study time, seek help, or discover alternative learning methods. The focus remains on the actionable steps within one's power. But how do we discern what is within our control and what is not? This discernment itself is a skill that can be honed through reflection, mindfulness, and practice. By asking ourselves whether we can change, influence, or affect the outcome of a situation, we can identify where our energies will be most effectively spent. Epictetus also reminds us that acceptance of what we cannot control is not a passive resignation, but an active engagement with reality. It is the acknowledgement that there are elements of existence that simply are as they are. This acceptance liberates us from the frustration of trying to change the unchangeable and directs us towards the fertile ground of our own agency. In the quest to become unstoppable, one might employ daily practices that reinforce this Stoic mindset. Journaling can be a powerful tool where one reflects on the day's events and identifies what was and was not within their control. Mindfulness and meditation also serve to center the mind, cultivating an awareness that can distinguish between futile worry over the uncontrollable and effective action within one's power. One might also engage in premeditatio malorum, another Stoic exercise where one anticipates potential challenges and prepares mentally for them. By envisioning difficulties, one can practice responding with equanimity and focus on what they can influence, rather than being overwhelmed by unforeseen circumstances. To further imbue one's character with the fortitude of Epictetus's teachings, it is valuable to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. Rather than shying away from difficult situations or complaining about them, we can see them as arenas in which to exercise our control over our reactions and decisions. It is in the heat of adversity that the steel of our resolve is tested and our capacity for control is expanded. In our contemporary lives, the dichotomy of control can also be a guiding principle in goal setting and time management. By concentrating on our own efforts and setting realistic, achievable goals, we foster a sense of accomplishment and purpose. Time management becomes a reflection of our priorities, where we invest our most valuable resource, time, into what we can control and what aligns with our values and objectives. The integration of Epictetus's philosophy into our daily lives can be transformative. It can alter our relationship with failure and success, redefine our understanding of influence, and reshape our very identities. By relinquishing the illusion of control over the vast machinery of the world and honing our mastery over our own will and action, we become architects of our own fate. We become in essence unstoppable, not by ensuring that every external circumstance bends to our will, but by bending ourselves to the reality of our circumstances and wielding our will with precision and wisdom. We cannot control the wind, but we can adjust our sails. It is in this adjustment that our journey towards becoming unstoppable lies. Epictetus's lessons are deceptively simple yet infinitely deep. They call us not to a life of ease, but to one of meaningful challenge, a life where the true scope of our influence is both recognized and realized. As we continue on our path, we carry with us the Stoic wisdom that the ultimate power lies in our response to the world around us, in the steady beat of a heart that knows its own strength, and in the calm mind that finds serenity, not by staring down the storm, but by trusting in its own ability to endure it. In the light of Epictetus's enduring wisdom, we find the clarity to focus on our actions, the courage to release the uncontrollable, and the insight to understand that in this interplay between acceptance and action, the character of the unstoppable is forged. It is a journey that each of us can embark upon, a path that beckons with the promise of personal freedom and the power that comes from within. Socrates, the classical Greek philosopher, wielded his dialogues as a surgeon's scalpel, dissecting the superficial layers of societal norms to reveal the underlying truths of human existence. The Socratic method, his legacy, is a form of cooperative argumentative dialogue that stimulates critical thinking and draws out underlying presuppositions. This method was not merely pedagogical, it was a tool for the deepest kind of self-exploration and self-knowledge, which Socrates held to be the most significant pursuit of human life. Know thyself was the dictum inscribed at the temple of Apollo at Delphi, and it was a maxim that Socrates lived by and promoted fervently. He believed that understanding oneself is the key to wisdom and the foundation of a strong character. To Socrates, an unexamined life was not worth living, for it was through the process of examination that one could achieve the highest virtues and live a life of genuine happiness and fulfillment. For Socrates, self-knowledge was more than introspection. It was an understanding of one's role in the cosmos, one's limitations, strengths, desires, and above all, one's ignorance. By acknowledging our ignorance, we open the door to true knowledge. This radical self-awareness leads to self-mastery as one becomes less swayed by external influences and more guided by an understanding of one's true nature and values. The Socratic approach to self-examination involves questioning our beliefs and values, probing their origins, and testing their consistency. To become unstoppable, one must be willing to face the discomfort of challenging deeply held beliefs and the humility to admit when one is wrong. This level of self-awareness allows for the development of a character that is not only strong, but also adaptable and open to growth. Self-awareness, according to Socrates, also extends to recognizing the power of our own will and choice. It is through self-knowledge that we come to understand that we are the agents of our own lives, responsible for our decisions and actions. With this knowledge, we can align our actions with our principles, leading to a congruent and authentic life. Moreover, Socrates' pursuit of self-knowledge was intertwined with his commitment to living a virtuous life. He argued that knowledge is inherently tied to virtue, implying that the more we understand ourselves, the better we can live virtuously. Self-knowledge then becomes not only a personal asset, but a moral imperative. But how can we apply Socratic self-knowledge to become unstoppable in our contemporary lives? The Socratic method itself offers a clue. By engaging in dialogue with others who challenge our ideas, we are forced to clarify our thoughts and beliefs. This dialectic process can be applied internally as well, through journaling or meditation, where we engage in a dialogue with ourselves, questioning our motives, goals, and the alignment of our actions with our values. Another application of Socratic self-knowledge is in decision-making. With a clear understanding of our values and principles, we can make choices that are not only effective but also reflect who we are at our core. This coherence between values and action grants us the confidence and resolve to move through life's obstacles with a steady hand. In the modern era, where constant stimulation and external validation can cloud our self-perception, the Socratic emphasis on self-knowledge is more relevant than ever. It calls us to turn inward, away from the noise, and to seek the truth of our being. It invites us to cultivate a relationship with ourselves, to become intimate with our thoughts, feelings, and desires. The pursuit of self-knowledge also serves as a compass in times of uncertainty. When we are sure of who we are and what we stand for, we can navigate life's complexities with a sense of purpose and direction. This internal compass is what makes a person unstoppable, not because they never face challenges, but because they are unwavering in their sense of self through those challenges. In essence, the power of self-knowledge as advocated by Socrates is the power to live deliberately and authentically. It is the recognition that the wellspring of an unstoppable character is not found in external accolades or achievements, but in the quiet depths of introspective wisdom. It is here, in the sanctum of self, that we cultivate the strength, the clarity, and the conviction to live life on our own terms, unassailable in our journey towards the highest expressions of human potential. Socrates' contribution to the concept of an unstoppable character lies in the profound understanding that the pursuit of self-knowledge is the most important journey a person can undertake. It is a journey that does not end with mere reflection, but extends into every facet of living, demanding a consistency of thought, word, and deed that is the hallmark of a life well lived and a character truly unstoppable. The journey to cultivating an unstoppable character is not a sprint. It is a marathon without a finish line, a continuous process of growth, challenge, and reflection. Each philosopher and author we've discussed offers unique insights that contribute to the tapestry of an indomitable spirit. From Nietzsche's fiery proclamation to embrace life's struggles with Amor Fati, to Emerson's resolute call for self-reliance, each provides a thread in the fabric of character. Nietzsche challenges us to not only accept our fates, but to love them, to see each moment of adversity as a step towards the summit of our personal excellence. Emerson, with equal vigor, champions the cause of individualism, nudging us towards the strength that comes from trusting in our inner voice and moral compass. Marcus Aurelius, with his Meditations, provides a Stoic blueprint for discipline in both action and thought, instilling in us the serenity that comes from self-control and purposeful living. Epictetus, his philosophical kin, arms us with the dichotomy of control, teaching us to invest our energies wisely into that which we can influence while cultivating acceptance for what lies beyond our grasp. Seneca's contemplations on adversity offer a reframing of life's trials, urging us to transform obstacles into opportunities for growth and to recognize that true progress often comes dressed in the garb of misfortune. Socrates, the archetype of the philosophical life, summons us to the rigorous and rewarding task of self-examination, the cornerstone of personal development and virtuous living. Each of these great minds contributes to a holistic view of character building, one that acknowledges the complexities and contradictions inherent in the human condition. They remind us that developing an unstoppable character is an ever-evolving endeavor, one that requires patience, persistence, and a hearty appetite for life's vast array of experiences. As we draw this exploration to a close, let us not see it as an ending but as a call to action. The wisdom of these philosophers and authors is not meant to be passively consumed, but actively engaged with. It is an invitation to incorporate their teachings into the fabric of our daily lives, to test their principles against the measure of our personal experiences, and to mold their insights into tools that serve our unique purposes. We are urged to embrace the philosophical practice, not as an academic exercise, but as a living, breathing part of our existence. To question like Socrates, to endure like Seneca, to discipline our thoughts and actions like Marcus Aurelius, to focus our energies like Epictetus, to love our fate like Nietzsche, and to trust ourselves like Emerson. In conclusion, the creation of an unstoppable character is an art form where life itself is the canvas and our actions the brushstrokes. It is a pursuit that is intensely personal yet universally resonant, a commitment that is challenging yet profoundly rewarding. As we venture forth, let us carry the wisdom of these timeless thinkers, not as burdens, but as lanterns in the dark, guiding us towards our own inner light. And so, I invite you, the viewer, to step into the arena of your life with these teachings as your armor and your guide. Reflect upon them, challenge them, apply them, and in doing so, forge the unyielding character that is uniquely yours. Make the conscious choice to grow, to evolve, to expand your potential, And in this lifelong endeavor, may you find not only the strength to overcome, but the joy in the journey of becoming truly unstoppable. Imagine, if you will, a world where every action, every deed, and every intention is fueled by pure, unadulterated kindness. It's a utopia, right? Where benevolence reigns supreme and every face you meet beams with warmth and compassion. It's an appealing image, one that seems almost surreal in the hustle and bustle of our modern world. But here's a radical thought. What if this overwhelming kindness, unchecked and unbounded, was the very thing that crumbled the foundations of this paradise? Kindness, in its essence, is a universally valued virtue. Think back to the earliest stories passed down through generations, fables from every corner of the world, and the age-old wisdom of renowned philosophers. They all sang praises of kindness, recognizing its transformative power. These stories tell of heroes and heroines who, with their unwavering kindness, conquered adversities, united tribes, and spread love. And even today, in the cacophony of our divisive times, kindness stands tall as the one virtue that everyone, regardless of race, religion, or region, can agree upon. Yet, for all its glory and grandeur, there's an aspect of kindness that isn't talked about often. A side that, while shadowed by its overwhelming positives, can be detrimental when left unchecked. It's the side that can unintentionally lead us down a path of self-destruction, making us question our worth and tarnish our very spirit. This brings us to the core purpose of today's video. While our intentions with kindness are always in the right place, there are times and instances where its application can go awry. Just like how too much water can drown a plant, excessive or misplaced kindness can drown our spirit, leaving us feeling depleted, used, or lost. It sounds paradoxical, doesn't it? How can something so inherently good become potentially harmful? That's exactly what we're delving into today. We will explore those shadowed alleys where kindness, when not practiced with wisdom and discernment, can become counterproductive. Not to instill fear, but to foster awareness. For with awareness comes the power to balance, to differentiate, and to truly practice kindness in its most genuine, effective, and sustainable form. To many, this exploration might seem unconventional, even controversial. After all, we live in a world that constantly urges us to be kind at every juncture. Social media platforms are flooded with heartwarming stories of random acts of kindness. Businesses integrate kindness into their branding strategies, and educational institutions incorporate it into their curricula. But in this sea of always be kind mantras, it's easy to lose sight of the nuances that come with it. As we venture into this thought-provoking journey, I invite you to keep an open mind, to reflect on your personal experiences, and to engage in a dialogue, not just with me, but with yourself. For at the end of the day, our shared goal is personal growth and a deeper understanding of this complex, multifaceted virtue we call kindness. Let's embark on this journey together, shedding light on the 7 ways kindness, if unchecked, could potentially ruin your life, and more importantly, how to avoid these pitfalls. Remember, it's not about diminishing the act of kindness, but rather refining it, so it remains the powerful, positive force we know and love. The good intentions behind people-pleasing. We've all been there at some point or another. A friend asks for a favor when we're already stretched thin. A coworker seeks help on a project during our personal time, or a family member requests our presence at an event when we're mentally exhausted. Despite the internal conflict, our instinctive response is a resounding yes. After all, what's a little inconvenience if it brings joy or relief to someone we care about? This is the essence of people-pleasing, the persistent desire to accommodate others, even if it comes at a personal cost. On the surface, people-pleasing appears as an admirable trait. It's a testament to a person's kindness, willingness, and selflessness. Society often lauds the individuals who go the extra mile, praising their sacrifices as they juggle countless tasks, favors, and commitments. But beneath this veneer of commendation lies a deeper, more intricate web of emotions and consequences that many fail to recognize until they're deeply entangled. The domino effect of unchecked people-pleasing. The consistent act of putting others before oneself, while rooted in good intentions, can have a domino effect on an individual's well-being. The first tile to fall is often the physical and mental toll it takes. A yes here and there can quickly snowball, leading to overextension. The late nights, the missed self-care routines, the constant juggling, it all accumulates. Before one realizes, burnout sets in. The signs can be subtle: persistent fatigue, mood swings, and a growing sense of detachment from one's passions and hobbies. But burnout is just the beginning. As one continues to prioritize others, resentment starts brewing. It's a natural, albeit uncomfortable, emotion that emerges when personal boundaries are persistently crossed. The mind begins to wonder, why am I always the one making sacrifices? Or does anyone recognize the efforts I put in? This resentment, if left unchecked, can strain relationships, ironically defeating the purpose of people-pleasing in the first place. Perhaps the most profound casualty of unchecked people-pleasing, however, is the loss of personal identity. When one is constantly molding themselves to fit the needs, desires, and expectations of others, they start losing touch with who they truly are. Interests become aligned with those of peers. Opinions sway based on popular consensus. And over time, the line between the individual's authentic self and the people-pleaser persona blurs. Recognizing the potential pitfalls of excessive people-pleasing is the first step towards reclaiming one's autonomy. But understanding the problem is only half the battle. Implementing solutions is where the real challenge lies. The primary weapon in one's arsenal against unchecked people-pleasing is setting healthy boundaries. It's essential to remember that boundaries aren't barriers. They're guidelines that help define one's personal space, limits, and values. By establishing what's acceptable and what's not, one can begin to navigate social interactions without losing themselves in the process. However, setting boundaries means little if one cannot communicate them effectively. This brings us to perhaps the most potent two-letter word in the English language: no. Saying no isn't a rejection of the person or their request, it's a declaration of self-respect. It's an acknowledgement that while one might wish to help or participate, current circumstances or well-being don't permit it. Of course, asserting boundaries and declining requests can induce guilt, especially for seasoned people-pleasers. It's crucial to remember that saying no doesn't diminish one's kindness or value. On the contrary, by preserving one's well-being, they're better equipped to help and support others genuinely and wholeheartedly when the situation allows. In the grand tapestry of human interactions, kindness and the desire to please are threads that add vibrancy and warmth. However, like any intricate design, balance is key. By recognizing the potential pitfalls of excessive people-pleasing, setting clear boundaries, and learning to say no without being consumed by guilt, individuals can weave a life that's not just pleasing to others, but deeply fulfilling to themselves. After all, true kindness begins with being kind to oneself. being taken advantage of. Kindness, in its purest form, is a radiant expression of the human spirit. It's the gentle hand that offers support, the soothing voice that offers solace, and the open heart that gives without expecting. However, this very openness, when not tempered with discernment, can make one susceptible to the manipulations of those with less than honorable intentions. While it's a painful notion to consider, not every hand extended in response to our kindness is looking for a heartfelt connection. Some are merely seeking to take. In many instances, it starts subtly. It could be a colleague always expecting help but never being there when the tables turn. Or a friend who frequently borrows, be it money or possessions, with a list of excuses instead of returns. Maybe it's a partner who constantly demands emotional support but rarely reciprocates. Over time, these repeated instances evolve from isolated incidents to a pattern that exploits one's kindness and generosity. The repercussions of consistently being taken advantage of are multifaceted. On the surface, there's the obvious emotional drain. Each act of unreciprocated kindness, each broken promise, and every thankless favor chips away at one's emotional reservoir. The once boundless energy and enthusiasm for helping others slowly wanes, replaced by a growing sense of cynicism and guardedness. Beyond the emotional toll, there's the tangible depletion of resources. Time, money, and sometimes even physical well-being are sacrificed in the service of those who exploit. These repeated sacrifices can lead to tangible setbacks, be it in personal goals, financial stability, or career progression. But perhaps the most insidious consequence is the erosion of self-worth. When one's kindness is repeatedly exploited, it can lead to a barrage of self-questioning. Thoughts such as, "Am I not worth the respect? Why do I always end up being used?" Or, "Is there something wrong with me?" can plague the mind. This internal dialogue can steadily diminish one's self-esteem, casting a shadow on the very trait, kindness, that should be a source of pride. So how does one protect themselves from falling into the snares of exploitation while retaining their genuine desire to be kind? The journey begins with awareness and recognition. It's vital to be alert to the signs of manipulative behavior. These can manifest as guilt-tripping, playing the victim card, offering hollow promises, or frequently shifting goalposts. By being attuned to these behaviors, one can discern genuine requests for help from manipulative ploys. Yet, awareness is only the starting point. What follows is the need for discernment in relationships. It's essential to periodically evaluate one's relationships, separating the wheat from the chaff. Recognizing those who value and reciprocate kindness from those who merely take can be illuminating. It doesn't necessarily mean cutting ties immediately, but adjusting the level of generosity and openness based on the nature of the relationship. An essential tool in this journey of discernment is open communication. If a pattern of exploitation is identified, address it. Sometimes, it's a mere lack of awareness on the other person's part, and an open conversation can reset the dynamics of the relationship. At the heart of avoiding exploitation while being kind is the fusion of kindness with wisdom. Kindness need not be blind. It can be, and should be, practiced with open eyes and an alert mind. By integrating awareness, discernment, and open communication into one's approach towards kindness, one can not only guard against exploitation, but also ensure that their acts of generosity are directed towards those who truly value and appreciate them. In the end, being kind doesn't mean one should be an open book with pages ready to be torn. Instead, think of oneself as a well-curated library, open to all but with clear rules, ensuring that the knowledge and generosity within are respected, valued, and reciprocated. Suppressing genuine emotions. In a world that often emphasizes positivity and the power of a sunny disposition, there's an unsaid pressure to always present our best, most gracious selves. This idea is especially true for individuals with a kind-hearted nature. Whether it's in the face of criticism, in response to hurtful comments, or even during personal upheavals, there's a silent expectation to maintain a composed, kind facade. This always happy or always understanding demeanor, while commendable in many situations, can become a double-edged sword if it leads to the consistent suppression of genuine emotions. For many, wearing this mask starts as a protective mechanism. It's simpler to smile through the pain or to laugh off a hurtful comment than to confront it head-on, risking conflict or discomfort. Over time, this mask solidifies, becoming an intrinsic part of one's identity. What was once a conscious choice slowly morphs into an involuntary reflex. Emotions in their rawest form are our mind's way of communicating with us. They are signals, indicating our well-being, our needs, and our boundaries. When we consistently suppress these signals, especially the ones deemed negative such as anger, sadness, or hurt, we're essentially muting this internal communication. The repercussions of this emotional suppression are manifold. On a physiological level, bottled emotions can lead to increased stress. The body and mind, in their attempt to keep these emotions under wraps, expend significant energy, leading to fatigue, restlessness, and even somatic symptoms like headaches or digestive issues. The mental toll is even more pronounced. Emotions, when not expressed or processed, don't simply vanish. They simmer beneath the surface, and over time can lead to a range of mental health issues, from anxiety and depression to a pervasive feeling of emptiness. This consistent suppression can also result in emotional outbursts, where the pent-up feelings explode in situations unrelated to the original cause. However, perhaps the most profound consequence of this suppression is its impact on relationships. Genuine, deep connections are built on authenticity. When one constantly hides behind the mask of perpetual kindness, they prevent others from seeing, understanding, and connecting with their true selves. This lack of authenticity can stifle the depth of relationships, rendering them superficial. Breaking free from the shackles of suppressed emotions begins with acknowledgement. It's crucial to recognize and accept that it's natural, and in fact healthy, to feel a spectrum of emotions. Not every situation warrants a smile, and not every comment should be laughed off. To navigate this emotional landscape, communication becomes the guiding star. Instead of masking feelings, express them. This doesn't mean venting out anger uncontrollably or drowning others in our sorrows. It's about conveying feelings in a measured, constructive manner. For instance, if a friend's comment hurts, instead of suppressing the hurt, one could say, "I value our relationship, and that comment made me feel hurt. Can we discuss it?" Practicing emotional intelligence goes hand in hand with open communication. Emotional intelligence allows us to not only recognize and understand our emotions, but also to manage and express them appropriately. It provides the tools to convey feelings without causing harm, ensuring that the message is understood and not just heard. An essential aspect of this journey is to surround oneself with supportive individuals who value emotional honesty. Seek out friends, family, or even support groups that encourage genuine expression and create a safe space for open dialogue. In essence, the journey away from suppressing genuine emotions is a journey towards authenticity. It's about embracing the entirety of the human experience, the highs and the lows, the joys and the sorrows. By communicating feelings honestly and practicing emotional intelligence, one can not only foster better mental and emotional well-being, but also cultivate relationships that are rooted in genuine understanding and deep connection. Remember, true kindness isn't just about being kind to others. it's equally about being kind to oneself, and part of this kindness is allowing oneself the freedom to feel, to express, and to be truly wholly human. Overextending yourself. The human spirit, in its noblest manifestations, often seeks to transcend its boundaries, pushing the envelope of what's possible. This sentiment is particularly amplified in kind-hearted individuals. Driven by an intrinsic desire to assist, uplift, and make a difference, they frequently find themselves volunteering for tasks, offering help, or taking on responsibilities even when their plates are already brimming. While the intent behind these actions is undoubtedly pure, the act of consistently overextending oneself can lead to unintended and often adverse consequences. The scenario is all too common. A colleague asks for help on a project when you're already swamped with your tasks. A friend requests a favor when you've barely had a moment for yourself. In these situations, the immediate impulse for many is to say yes, driven by the desire to be kind, to be seen as reliable, or simply because turning someone down feels uncomfortable. Consistently overextending oneself is akin to continuously drawing from a well without allowing it to replenish. The immediate effects might not be noticeable, but over time, the signs of depletion become evident. Physically, the strain manifests as fatigue. The body, in its attempt to keep up with the ever-increasing demands, starts to wear out. Sleep patterns can get disrupted, energy levels drop, and there's a general sense of being run down. Mentally, the toll is twofold. Productivity, for one, takes a hit. As tasks pile up and responsibilities mount, the ability to focus and deliver effectively diminishes. Quality often gets compromised in the race to meet quantity. Furthermore, the continuous cycle of taking on more than one can handle and then struggling to keep up can lead to feelings of inadequacy and decreased self-worth. Over time, the initial joy derived from helping and being of service morphs into resentment. This resentment can be directed towards the very people one is helping, or even towards oneself for not setting boundaries. It's a perplexing emotional state, being resentful for actions driven by one's intrinsic kindness. Preventing this cycle of overextension begins with a crucial realization: recognizing one's limits. This doesn't equate to admitting inadequacy or lack of capability. Instead, it's about understanding that, like every resource, one's energy, time, and capabilities are finite. And to be of service in the long run, one needs to allocate these resources judiciously. The practice of self-awareness plays a pivotal role here. Regularly check in with yourself, assess your energy levels, gauge your mood, and evaluate your workload. If you find yourself consistently fatigued, overwhelmed, or irritable, it's a signal that you might be stretching yourself too thin. Coupled with self-awareness is the art of saying no. Declining a request or turning down an offer doesn't diminish one's kindness or value. It merely signifies a momentary pause, ensuring that when one does say yes, they can do so wholeheartedly and effectively. Another essential facet in this journey is self-care. Prioritize activities and practices that replenish your energy and spirit. Whether it's a hobby, meditation, exercise, or simply taking breaks, ensure that you're carving out time for rejuvenation. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. The crux of the matter is this: kindness, while a profound virtue, must be practiced in moderation, not in terms of how frequently one is kind, but in understanding when to offer help and when to step back. It's a delicate dance between generosity and self-preservation. In the end, the goal isn't to limit one's kindness, but to ensure its sustainability. By recognizing limits, practicing self-awareness, and prioritizing self-care, one can strike a balance, ensuring that their acts of kindness are not just fleeting gestures but lifelong commitments. Avoiding necessary conflict. For many of us, conflict is uncomfortable. It conjures images of heated arguments, hurtful words, and lingering tension. Thus, it's no surprise that a significant number of people, especially those with a naturally kind disposition, seek to avoid it at all costs. In a bid to maintain harmony and ensure that no feathers are ruffled, these individuals often steer clear of confrontations, dodge difficult conversations, or even silently bear injustices. The intent is pure, to avoid causing pain or disturbance. But what if, in the quest for perpetual peace, one is inadvertently paying a silent and hefty price? When conflicts are consistently avoided, the issues that warranted them don't magically disappear. Instead, they go underground, forming subtle undercurrents that influence interactions, decisions, and feelings. One of the most tangible effects of avoiding necessary conflict is the accumulation of unresolved issues. Think of these as invisible barriers. While they might not be immediately evident, they impede genuine connection and understanding. Over time, these barriers stack up, creating distance and fostering misunderstanding in relationships. Furthermore, the atmosphere becomes thick with tension. There's always the unsaid, the topic everyone dances around, or the issue that's palpable but never addressed. This tension, while often brushed under the carpet, has a way of manifesting. It might be in the form of passive-aggressive behavior, sudden emotional outbursts, or even physical symptoms like stress or anxiety. Beyond the immediate relational context, avoiding necessary conflict also robs individuals of growth opportunities. Confrontations, while challenging, are crucibles of personal development. They teach resilience, foster understanding, and build communication skills. Consistently sidestepping them means missing out on these valuable lessons. At this juncture, it's essential to differentiate between conflict for conflict's sake and constructive conflict. The former is disruptive and destructive, born out of ego or the desire to dominate. The latter, however, is rooted in the pursuit of understanding, resolution, and growth. Embracing constructive conflict doesn't mean seeking out disagreements. It signifies being open to addressing issues when they arise, valuing resolution over temporary peace. It's about viewing conflict not as a battleground, but as a meeting ground, a space where differing perspectives can converge to find common ground. Effective communication is the cornerstone of constructive conflict. This entails active listening. Before responding, truly hear the other person out. Understand their perspective, feelings, and concerns. Speaking without accusing. Frame statements using "I feel" rather than "you did." This reduces defensiveness and opens the door to understanding. Seeking clarification. If something is ambiguous or unclear, ask questions. Avoid making assumptions. Finding common ground. Focus on shared goals or mutual concerns, using them as a foundation to build upon. Agreeing to disagree. Recognize that it's okay to have differing opinions. The goal is understanding, not necessarily agreement. Avoiding the storm might prevent immediate discomfort, but it often leads to long-term turbulence. Facing it head-on, armed with the tools of effective communication, can lead to clearer skies and stronger bonds. In essence, the journey towards embracing constructive conflict is a journey of courage. It's about valuing depth over surface-level harmony, growth over stagnation, and genuine connection over appeasement. It's a realization that true kindness sometimes involves stepping into the arena of disagreement, not for battle but for mutual growth and understanding. Diminishing your self-worth. In many cultural narratives, the act of selflessness stands as a pinnacle of virtue. We hear tales of heroes sacrificing their desires for the greater good, of individuals putting others before themselves, and of acts of kindness that know no bounds. At its core, this virtue stems from a genuine love for humanity and a desire to create positive change. However, when consistently practiced without a parallel focus on oneself, this selflessness can lead to the inadvertent erosion of one's self-worth. When one constantly prioritizes others, a subtle message begins to embed itself in the psyche, that others' needs, feelings, and desires hold more weight than one's own. Over time, this belief solidifies, leading to a myriad of adverse consequences. Low self-esteem stands out as a primary fallout. If you constantly sideline your desires and aspirations, you start questioning your worth. A persistent feeling of being less than or not good enough takes root. This isn't just a fleeting emotion, it influences decisions, actions, and relationships. Feeling undervalued becomes a natural byproduct. In interactions, you might feel as though your opinions don't matter or that your contributions are insignificant. This perception isn't always rooted in reality, but a consequence of the internal narrative you've crafted. Further, the diminishing sense of self-worth manifests in missed opportunities. If you don't value yourself, you might not advocate for that promotion, pursue that dream project, or stand up for what you believe in. Essentially, the world is robbed of the full spectrum of your potential, simply because you've chosen to dim your own light. The journey back to recognizing and embracing one's self-worth isn't about swinging the pendulum to the other extreme and becoming self-centered. It's about finding a balanced middle ground where kindness towards others is complemented by kindness towards oneself. Self-compassion lies at the heart of this journey. This means treating yourself with the same level of understanding, patience, and love that you offer to others. Recognize your achievements, however small, and celebrate them. Acknowledge your failures not as indictments of your worth, but as stepping stones of growth. Develop a nurturing inner voice, one that uplifts rather than belittles. At the same time, cultivate assertiveness. Being assertive isn't about being aggressive or domineering. It's about expressing your needs, feelings, and boundaries in a respectful yet firm manner. Assertiveness training or workshops can be instrumental in honing this skill. Here are steps to integrate self-compassion and assertiveness into your life. Regular self-reflection. Dedicate time to introspect. Understand your needs, aspirations, and feelings. Validate them. Positive self-talk. Challenge and replace negative beliefs about yourself with uplifting affirmations. Set boundaries. Clearly define what you're comfortable with and communicate it. It's okay to say no, to ask for what you need, and to prioritize your well-being. Seek feedback. Talk to trusted friends or family. Understand how they perceive you and juxtapose it with your self-perception. This can offer valuable insights. Invest in personal growth. Attend workshops, read books, or seek therapy. Tools that enhance self-awareness and assertiveness can be transformational. True kindness isn't a zero-sum game where compassion towards oneself detracts from compassion towards others. In reality, by nurturing one's self-worth and ensuring that the wellspring of self-love is abundant, one can offer more genuine, sustainable, and impactful kindness to the world. In essence, the act of valuing oneself isn't selfish, it's foundational. It ensures that your acts of kindness emerge from a place of fullness rather than lack, from choice rather than obligation, and from love rather than duty. Misunderstanding of kindness. Across cultures and histories, kindness has been painted with broad strokes on the canvas of human virtues. However, somewhere along the lines of translation and interpretation, its essence has been oversimplified, and a few myths have emerged. One of the most pervasive myths is that kindness is synonymous with passivity, submissiveness, or an inherent lack of strength. This misconception can be traced back to numerous sources. From folklore tales where the kind-hearted protagonist is often portrayed as docile and submissive to societal norms that might associate gentleness with weakness. The truth, however, is far more nuanced. The ramifications of misconstrued kindness, operating under the belief that kindness equates to perpetual passivity, can lead to a host of challenges. For one, constantly yielding, acquiescing, or suppressing one's voice can result in others perceiving you as indecisive or weak. This perception, even if unfounded, can have tangible implications, especially in settings like workplaces where decisiveness and strength are valued. Moreover, the act of constantly sidelining one's desires or opinions in the name of kindness can be misinterpreted. Colleagues might misconstrue it as a lack of conviction or passion. Friends might interpret it as disinterest. In relationships, it might be seen as indifference. The ripple effect of this misunderstanding can lead to reduced opportunities, strained relationships, and a diminished sense of self-worth. The crux of the issue here is not the act of kindness itself, but the flawed understanding and application of it. True kindness is neither weak nor passive. It is in fact a powerful force, a blend of compassion, wisdom, and strength. Kindness is not about never standing up for oneself or never showcasing one's power. It's about knowing when to exercise that power, how to do it with grace, and doing so for the right reasons. True kindness is the strength in lending a hand to someone in need. It's the wisdom in understanding when silence speaks louder than words. It's the courage in standing up against injustices, not just for oneself, but for others too. Kindness, in its purest form, is assertive. Here are ways to practice assertive kindness. 1. Educate yourself. Understand the difference between passivity, aggression, and assertiveness. Kindness thrives in the assertive space. 2. Clear communication. Express your needs, beliefs, and feelings transparently. Doing so doesn't dilute your kindness. It amplifies its authenticity. 3. Boundaries are essential. Kindness doesn't mean letting others overstep your boundaries. Define them clearly and guard them, all while maintaining respect for others. 4. Lead with empathy. Understand the emotions and needs of others. This will help in navigating situations with both kindness and assertiveness. 5. Seek role models. Identify figures in your life or history who epitomize assertive kindness. Analyze their actions and learn. It's high time the narrative around kindness evolves. Kindness is not the opposite of strength, it's a complement. A kind individual can be a formidable leader, a decisive manager, and a passionate advocate. They wield their strength not like a sledgehammer, but like a scalpel, precise, effective, and with care. In closing, embracing the true essence of kindness is about discarding outdated, one-dimensional notions and recognizing its multifaceted nature. It's about understanding that at the heart of every genuinely kind act is not weakness, but a reservoir of strength and wisdom. As we've journeyed through the nuanced landscape of kindness, We've dissected its multifaceted nature, shedding light on the pivotal touchpoints where its essence can sometimes become misguided or misdirected. 1. Excessive people-pleasing, the danger of always seeking external validation and the criticality of setting boundaries. 2. Being taken advantage of, recognizing and navigating the treacherous waters where genuine kindness can be exploited. 3. Suppressing genuine emotions, the silent cost of always wearing a kind mask and the liberation of authentic emotional expression. 4. Overextending yourself, the pitfalls of stretching oneself too thin and the importance of understanding one's own limits. 5. Avoiding necessary conflict, the hidden detriments of constantly sidestepping confrontations and the growth fostered through constructive conflict. 6. Diminishing your self-worth, the subtle ways in which continuous self-sacrifice can erode self-value and the rejuvenating power of self-compassion. 7. Misunderstanding of kindness, debunking the myth that kindness is passive, highlighting its inherent strength and assertiveness. The tapestry of kindness woven from these threads paints a vivid picture. It's not just about benevolence, but balance. It's not solely about selflessness, but also self-respect. True kindness, when understood and practiced wisely, becomes a potent force that enriches not just the recipient but also the giver. Yet, like any force, it must be wielded with awareness and care. Let kindness not become a weight that drags you down, but wings that let you soar. It's essential to remember that being kind shouldn't come at the expense of your well-being or self-respect. Like the yin and yang, there exists a harmonious balance between selflessness and self-care. As we close this chapter on kindness, let us carry forward the powerful truth that real kindness is not a whisper, but a resolute voice. It is not the surrender of strength, but its very embodiment. True kindness is the courage to uphold boundaries while opening your heart, the fortitude to stand firm in your values while extending a helping hand, and the bravery to be compassionate without losing sight of your worth. Let this be your guiding star. Kindness is not the absence of strength, but the presence of strength used lovingly. Hold this principle close, and let the strength of your kindness be the light that brightens the world, a steadfast beacon of hope and humanity. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Epictetus. In the bustling, ever-changing landscape of our modern lives, where each day presents a new challenge, a new opportunity, and a new lesson, there lies a timeless philosophy that still echoes with relevance and wisdom. Stoicism. An ancient Hellenistic philosophy, Stoicism was founded in Athens by Zeno of Citium in the early 3rd century BC, yet its principles continue to resonate powerfully in the hearts and minds of people across the globe, transcending time and culture. At its core, Stoicism teaches the development of self-control and fortitude as a means to overcome destructive emotions. It is not about suppressing our feelings, but rather understanding our reactions to them. In a world where we often feel out of control, Stoicism offers a lantern of clarity, guiding us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. But Stoicism is more than just a philosophical discourse. It is a practical toolkit for living a fulfilled life. It encourages us to confront our fears, challenges us to question our desires, and invites us to value simplicity. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus weren't just thinkers. They were practitioners of a way of living. Their teachings, encapsulated in meditations, letters, and discourses, offer a blueprint for facing life's adversities with grace and resilience. As we embark on this journey through 12 Stoic lessons to transform your life, we are not just exploring ancient texts or dissecting philosophical concepts. We are engaging in a deeply personal and transformative experience. Each lesson is a stepping stone towards self-mastery, peace of mind, and a deeper understanding of the human condition. These lessons challenge the very way we perceive our existence, our values, and our interactions with the world around us. The lessons range from understanding what lies within our power to control to embracing the impermanence of life. They teach us to appreciate the present, cultivate discipline, and develop emotional resilience. Through these lessons, Stoicism provides a framework for dealing with the complexities and uncertainties of life. It teaches us to detach ourselves from external outcomes and focus instead on our internal virtues, a shift in perspective that can lead to profound changes in how we live our day-to-day lives. These Stoic teachings are not abstract theories meant to be pondered in isolation, but are deeply practical and applicable. They address everyday concerns, from handling stress and managing anger to finding happiness and understanding our place in the world. By integrating these lessons into our daily routines, we can transform not only our mindset but our actions and ultimately our lives. As we explore these 12 lessons, remember that Stoicism is not about becoming indifferent or unfeeling. It's about finding balance, understanding our emotions, and using reason to navigate life's ups and downs. It's about building resilience, not just to endure, but to thrive regardless of what life throws our way. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, Stoicism stands as a beacon of strength and stability. It teaches us that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. In this lies our power, our dignity, and our freedom. As we delve into these lessons, let us embrace the Stoic journey not just as a philosophical exercise, but as a practical guide to living a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Lesson 1. Understand what is within your control. We are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens. Epictetus. This profound quote by Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, lays the foundation for our first lesson: understanding what is within our control. In the realm of Stoicism, this principle is paramount. It teaches us that the key to peace of mind and personal freedom lies in focusing our energy and attention on things we can control, rather than on those we cannot. The Stoics divide the world into two domains: things we can control, our thoughts, perceptions, and actions, and things we cannot control, which includes everything external to us, like the behavior of others, the past, and the future. This lesson urges us to examine our daily life, to recognize and accept this division. For instance, you cannot control the weather, the traffic, or other people's actions, but you can control your response to these events. If it rains during your outdoor event, you can either lament the weather, which is beyond your control, or adapt your plans and attitude, which is within your control. This approach is not about passivity or resignation. Instead, it's about empowering yourself by investing your energy in what you can influence and letting go of the frustration and stress that come from trying to control the uncontrollable. By adopting this mindset, we cultivate a sense of inner peace and resilience. It helps us to become more adaptable, less reactive, and more measured in our responses to life's challenges. It's about shifting our focus from external events to our internal landscape, our thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes, and how these can either serve or hinder us. This lesson isn't just about avoiding unnecessary stress. It's about recognizing where our true power lies and using it to live a more fulfilled life. Lesson 2. Embrace obstacles as opportunities. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. The second lesson delves into a principle famously encapsulated by Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher. The idea that obstacles can actually be opportunities is not just a motivational platitude, but a cornerstone of Stoic resilience. It's about a radical reframing of challenges, setbacks, and hardships. Instead of viewing them as impediments, we are encouraged to see them as opportunities for growth, learning, and character development. This concept is often easier said than done, as our natural inclination is to avoid difficulties and seek comfort. However, Stoicism invites us to question this instinct, and instead embrace challenges as a means of practicing virtues like courage, patience, and perseverance. When faced with a difficult situation, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we can ask, "What can this teach me?" or "How can I use this to become stronger?" A real-world application of this lesson could be in our professional lives. A career setback, like losing a job or facing a demotion, can be reframed as an opportunity to reevaluate our path, acquire new skills, or even start a new venture. It's about finding value in adversity, not passively, but actively seeking ways to transform it into a stepping stone for personal and professional development. Embracing obstacles as opportunities is more than mere optimism. It's a strategy for life. It's about cultivating a mindset that sees every difficulty as a test of our character and every setback as a chance to practice virtue. It's a lesson in resilience, adaptability, and the power of a positive perspective. Lesson 3. Living in the present moment. Be where you are, otherwise you will miss your life. Buddha. Though this quote comes from Buddha, it beautifully aligns with Stoic principles, particularly the practice of mindfulness and presence. Stoicism, much like Buddhism, places great emphasis on living in the present moment. This lesson is about the art of presence, the cultivation of an acute awareness of the now. It's an antidote to the distractions, anxieties, and incessant busyness that characterizes modern life. Mindfulness in Stoicism is about paying attention to our thoughts, our actions, and our surroundings with a clear and focused mind. It's about being fully engaged with whatever we are doing at the moment, whether it's having a conversation, eating a meal, or simply walking. This practice helps us appreciate the richness of life, reduces stress, and enhances our overall well-being. But mindfulness is more than just a practice. It's a way of living. It's about being aware of our thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them. It's about observing the world around us without jumping to judgment or letting biases cloud our perception. This heightened sense of awareness enables us to respond to life situations with wisdom and equanimity rather than reacting impulsively. In practical terms, mindfulness can manifest in simple actions. It could be as basic as truly listening when someone speaks, rather than thinking about what you'll say next. Or it could involve taking a moment to breathe and center yourself when you feel overwhelmed or stressed. Practicing mindfulness means you are less likely to be caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past, allowing you to live more fully in the present. This lesson invites us to slow down, to savor the present, and to cultivate a deeper connection with ourselves and the world around us. By practicing mindfulness and presence, we not only enhance our own lives, but also enrich our interactions with others, fostering a more compassionate and understanding world. Lesson 4: Building self-discipline. No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have, and to cheerfully put to good use what they do have. Seneca. The fourth lesson brings us to the crucial role of self-discipline in achieving personal growth. Seneca's words echo the Stoic belief that true power lies in self-control and the disciplined use of our resources, be it time, abilities, or material possessions. Self-discipline in the Stoic sense is not just about restraint or austerity, but about making conscious, rational decisions that align with our values and goals. It involves recognizing and resisting impulsive desires, not to deny pleasure, but to avoid being enslaved by whims and fleeting temptations. In cultivating self-discipline, we are encouraged to take a hard look at our daily habits and lifestyle choices. Are they reflective of our deepest values? Do they contribute to our growth and well-being, or do they hinder it? The practice of self-discipline asks us to be mindful of how we spend our time, how we react to our emotions, and how we engage with our desires. It's about choosing long-term satisfaction over short-term gratification. Understanding that true happiness comes not from external sources, but from living a life of virtue and purpose. Moreover, self-discipline is about mastering ourselves, not just our actions but our thoughts and reactions. It involves setting boundaries for ourselves and sticking to them, even when it's challenging. This could mean limiting distractions to focus on important tasks, saying no to unnecessary commitments, or practicing moderation in pleasures. It's about finding a balanced understanding that while we cannot control everything in our lives, we can control ourselves. Cultivating self-discipline also means recognizing and appreciating what we already have. It's about shifting our focus from what we lack to what we possess and using our resources wisely and gratefully. This mindset fosters a sense of abundance and contentment, which is essential for personal growth and happiness. In the grand scheme, self-discipline is not just a tool for individual achievement, but a path to personal freedom and fulfillment. Lesson 5: Develop emotional resilience. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. In this fifth lesson, we delve into the Stoic view of emotions and the importance of developing emotional resilience. The quote from Seneca reminds us that much of our suffering is a product of our thoughts and fears, rather than actual events. Stoicism teaches that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can control our reactions to these events. This is where emotional resilience comes in. It's the ability to face our emotions, understand them, and respond to them in a healthy and constructive way. Emotional resilience, according to Stoicism, is not about suppressing or ignoring our feelings. It's about acknowledging them, understanding their origin, and then using reason to decide the best course of action. It's about recognizing that while emotions are natural, they should not dictate our decisions or behaviors. For instance, it's natural to feel anger when wronged, but it's how we handle that anger that defines us. Do we let it lead to rash actions and hurtful words, or do we take a moment to step back, assess the situation, and respond in a way that aligns with our principles? This lesson also teaches us the value of perspective. Often, our emotional reactions are amplified by the way we perceive situations. By learning to view challenges and setbacks through a more objective lens, we can reduce unnecessary distress and respond more calmly and effectively. This involves questioning our automatic thoughts and beliefs and considering alternative interpretations of events. Developing emotional resilience is a lifelong journey. It requires regular practice and mindfulness. It involves cultivating virtues like patience, tolerance, and courage. It means learning to find the middle ground between feeling too much and feeling too little. By developing emotional resilience, we equip ourselves to handle life's ups and downs with grace and equanimity, leading to a more peaceful and fulfilling life. Lesson 6. Memento Mori. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Marcus Aurelius. The sixth lesson is a profound one, rooted in the Stoic practice of memento mori, the reminder that we must die. This might sound morbid at first, but its intention is far from it. This lesson is about recognizing the impermanence of life as a way to value our time and live more meaningfully. Marcus Aurelius' words remind us that life is fleeting, and we should live each moment with the awareness that it could be our last. Understanding the impermanence of life encourages us to focus on what truly matters. It pushes us to question our priorities, our values, and how we spend our time. Are we pursuing things that are genuinely important to us, or are we caught up in the trivialities and distractions of daily life? This lesson teaches us to live with intention, to cherish each moment, and to focus on creating a positive impact. Moreover, the awareness of life's impermanence fosters a sense of gratitude and appreciation. It helps us to not take our time, our relationships, and our experiences for granted. It encourages us to be more present, more compassionate, and more forgiving. We are reminded to cherish our loved ones, to pursue our passions, and to make the most of the time we have. In a broader sense, this lesson is about accepting the natural cycle of life and death. It's about understanding that everything has its time, and that clinging to the impermanent only leads to suffering. By embracing the transience of life, we learn to live more fully, to let go of petty grievances, and to focus on what truly enriches our lives. It's a call to action to live authentically, courageously, and with purpose, knowing that our time is limited but our impact can be lasting. Lesson 7. Practice gratitude. Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Epicurus. In Lesson 7, we explore the timeless virtue of gratitude, a key element in Stoic philosophy as well as in the teachings of Epicurus. Gratitude is about appreciating what we already possess, rather than lamenting what we lack. This lesson encourages a shift in perspective from scarcity to abundance, focusing on the wealth that exists in our current situation. Practicing gratitude doesn't mean ignoring life's difficulties, but it involves a conscious decision to acknowledge and appreciate the positives. This philosophy teaches us to find contentment in what we have, rather than constantly seeking more in the belief that it will bring happiness. It's about understanding that happiness does not come from external acquisitions, but from an internal state of mind. Gratitude helps in building a mindset where one can find joy and satisfaction in the present moment, regardless of circumstances. It transforms our relationship with life, turning every experience, even the most mundane, into a source of joy. Moreover, gratitude extends beyond personal benefit. It enhances our relationships, as expressing appreciation for others fosters connection and kindness. It's about recognizing the value of people, experiences, and even challenges, acknowledging their contribution to our growth and well-being. In a world that often emphasizes the pursuit of more, practicing gratitude is a powerful antidote to discontent and a catalyst for happiness and fulfillment. By regularly reflecting on what we are thankful for, we cultivate a deeper appreciation for life. This could involve simple practices like maintaining a gratitude journal or taking a moment each day to acknowledge something we're grateful for. Over time, this practice can lead to profound changes in how we perceive our lives and the world around us, fostering a sense of well-being and contentment. Lesson 8. Focus on personal excellence. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. Lesson 8 delves into the concept of arete, a Greek word often translated as virtue or excellence, which is central to Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius's call to action emphasizes the importance of personal excellence, not just as a concept, but as a way of living. It's about striving to be the best version of oneself in all aspects of life. This pursuit of excellence is not about external success or societal recognition, but about internal growth and virtue. In Stoicism, virtue is considered the highest good, and it encompasses qualities like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Focusing on personal excellence means actively working to cultivate these virtues in our daily lives. It involves making choices that align with our highest values and striving for moral and ethical integrity, even in the face of challenges. This lesson teaches that our true worth is determined not by our achievements or possessions, but by the quality of our character. It's about setting high standards for ourselves and continually seeking to improve, not out of a sense of inadequacy, but from a desire to live a virtuous and meaningful life. This quest for personal excellence is a lifelong journey, one that requires self-reflection, discipline, and a commitment to personal growth. Moreover, the focus on personal excellence has a ripple effect. By bettering ourselves, we contribute to the betterment of our communities and the world at large. We become role models, inspire others, and create a positive impact through our actions and choices. This lesson is a call to put philosophy into practice, to embody the virtues we admire, and to live a life of purpose and integrity. Lesson 9. Stop caring what people think. I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinions of himself than on the opinions of others. Marcus Aurelius. Lesson 9 addresses a common human tendency, the pursuit of external validation. Marcus Aurelius's observation highlights a paradox in human behavior, our propensity to seek approval and recognition from others, often at the expense of our own self-esteem and values. This lesson urges us to let go of this need for external approval and to find validation within ourselves. The Stoic attitude towards external validation is one of gentle indifference. It's not about becoming aloof or uncaring about others' opinions, but about not letting them dictate our self-worth or choices. The Stoics teach that true peace and freedom come from within, not from the fleeting and often fickle approval of others. This lesson encourages us to ground our sense of self in our own values and judgments, rather than external metrics of success or recognition. Letting go of the need for external approval is both liberating and empowering. It frees us from the constraints of societal expectations and allows us to live more authentically. It's about having the courage to be true to ourselves, to follow our own path, and to make decisions based on what we believe is right, not what we think will please others. Moreover, This lesson teaches us to develop a stronger sense of self-reliance and confidence. When we stop relying on external validation to feel good about ourselves, we build a more stable and enduring foundation for self-esteem. We learn to appreciate and accept ourselves with all our strengths and flaws, and this self-acceptance becomes the bedrock of our well-being and happiness. In practice, letting go of the need for external approval involves cultivating self-awareness and self-compassion. It's about recognizing our inherent worth, independent of our achievements or how others perceive us. It's a journey towards inner confidence, where we learn to validate, celebrate, and trust ourselves. By embracing this Stoic lesson, we can live more freely, authentically, and joyfully, guided by our inner compass rather than external pressures or expectations. Lesson 10. Accept change. Nothing endures but change. Heraclitus. Lesson 10 brings us to a fundamental truth echoed by Heraclitus, an ancient Greek philosopher whose ideas resonate deeply with Stoic thought: the constant and inevitable nature of change. Understanding and accepting change as an intrinsic part of life is crucial for developing resilience and living harmoniously. This lesson is not merely about acknowledging that change occurs, but about embracing it as a natural, unceasing rhythm of existence. Change can often be uncomfortable or even frightening, especially when it disrupts our plans or challenges our sense of stability. However, resisting change is akin to resisting the very nature of life. Stoicism teaches us to flow with this inevitable current, adapting to new circumstances with flexibility and composure. It's about finding stability within ourselves amidst the flux of the external world. This acceptance of change encourages a mindset of openness and adaptability. It prepares us to face life's uncertainties with a calm and balanced approach. Whether it's a change in our personal lives, like a career shift or the end of a relationship, or larger societal changes, the ability to adapt is a key to inner peace and resilience. Accepting change doesn't mean being passive or resigned. It's about actively engaging with life, ready to respond and grow with each turn. Moreover, understanding the nature of change fosters a deeper appreciation for the present moment. Knowing that nothing lasts forever, we learn to cherish our current experiences, relationships, and joys. It encourages us not to take things for granted and to live more fully and mindfully. This lesson is a powerful antidote to complacency and a call to engage actively with life, embracing its ever-changing nature. Lesson 11. Practice compassion and empathy. Kindness is invincible, provided it's sincere, not hypocritical or a matter of show. Marcus Aurelius. In Lesson 11, we explore the virtues of compassion and empathy, fundamental aspects of Stoicism and beautifully encapsulated in Marcus Aurelius's words. Stoicism often emphasizes personal resilience and strength, but equally important is the cultivation of kindness and understanding toward others. This lesson is about recognizing the shared human experience and extending empathy and compassion to those around us. Practicing compassion and empathy involves seeing beyond our own perspective and understanding the emotions, experiences, and motivations of others. It's about acknowledging the struggles and sufferings of others and responding with kindness and support. In a world where individualism often takes precedence, this Stoic lesson reminds us of the value of community, connection, and care for others. Moreover, compassion and empathy have a transformative effect, not only on those who receive it, but also on those who practice it. Engaging with others in a compassionate manner fosters deeper connections, reduces conflicts, and enhances our sense of well-being. It helps in building a more understanding, tolerant, and peaceful society. This practice isn't about pity or condescension, but about genuine connection and a recognition of the intrinsic value of every individual. In practical terms, practicing compassion and empathy can range from simple acts of kindness to more significant gestures of support and understanding. It involves listening actively, offering help without expecting anything in return, and trying to understand the world from another's perspective. This lesson guides us to be more patient, less judgmental, and more open-hearted in our daily interactions. Lesson 12. Reflect and review regularly. Examine your actions. Don't let your efforts be aimless. Marcus Aurelius. The final lesson, Lesson 12, focuses on the Stoic practice of self-reflection, a fundamental tool for personal growth and self-improvement. Marcus Aurelius, known for his reflective meditations, highlights the importance of regularly examining our actions, intentions, and progress. This lesson is about cultivating a habit of introspection, ensuring that our actions align with our values and goals. Self-reflection in Stoicism is not just a passive review of events, but an active, critical examination of our thoughts, behaviors, and choices. It's about asking ourselves tough questions. Are we living in accordance with our principles? Are our efforts directed toward meaningful goals? What can we learn from our experiences? This practice helps in identifying areas for improvement, acknowledging our strengths, and making conscious, deliberate choices about how to live. This lesson also involves setting aside time for reflection, which could be daily, weekly, or at any regular interval. It's a moment to pause in the hustle of life, to look inward, and to reassess our path. This practice can take many forms, from journaling to meditation or simply quiet contemplation. The key is to approach it with honesty, openness, and a willingness to grow. A regular reflection fosters a deeper understanding of ourselves. It helps us become more self-aware, recognizing patterns in our thoughts and behaviors that may be helpful or hindering. This awareness is crucial for personal development, as it forms the basis for making meaningful changes in our lives. It encourages us to live intentionally, not on autopilot, but as active creators of our own life story. As we reach the conclusion of our journey through the profound and timeless teachings of Stoicism, it's essential to pause and reflect on the immense wisdom we've encountered. This exploration has not merely been an academic exercise, but a deep dive into a philosophy that holds the potential to transform our lives in the most practical and meaningful ways. The 12 lessons we've discussed are more than just philosophical concepts. They are tools, strategies, and insight that can guide us in navigating the complexities and challenges of modern life with greater resilience, purpose, and fulfillment. In our first lesson, we learned about understanding what is within our control, a principle that empowers us to focus our energy and efforts on things we can influence, leading to a life of efficiency and inner peace. The second lesson taught us to embrace obstacles as opportunities, a perspective that transforms challenges into catalysts for growth and strength. Practicing mindfulness and presence, our third lesson, brought us to the realization of the richness and depth of the present moment, freeing us from the shackles of past regrets and future anxieties. The fourth lesson, on cultivating self-discipline, highlighted the importance of mastering our impulses and using our resources wisely, laying the foundation for a life of fulfillment and achievement. Developing emotional resilience, as we discovered in Lesson 5, is about facing our emotions with wisdom and balance, thus equipping us to handle life's ups and downs with grace. The 6th lesson, on understanding the impermanence of life, reminded us of the preciousness of each moment and the importance of living with intention and gratitude. Practicing gratitude, our 7th lesson, opened our eyes to the abundance that surrounds us, fostering a sense of contentment and joy in what we already have. Focusing on personal excellence, the 8th lesson challenged us to strive for the highest virtues of character, leading to a life of integrity and purpose. The 9th lesson, on letting go of the need for external approval, taught us the liberating power of self-validation and the importance of trusting our own judgment and worth. In the 10th lesson, we learned to understand and accept the nature of change, embracing the fluidity of life with adaptability and openness. Practicing compassion and empathy, as discussed in the 11th lesson, showed us the transformative power of kindness and understanding, not just in our lives but in the lives of those around us. Finally, the 12th lesson, on reflecting and reviewing regularly, emphasized the importance of introspection and self-awareness in our journey towards continuous improvement and self-mastery. These Stoic lessons, when integrated into our daily lives, can lead to profound transformations. They teach us to navigate life with wisdom, resilience, and virtue. They encourage us to build stronger relationships, foster a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world, and lead a life that aligns with our highest values and ideals. By adopting these principles, we can find a sense of balance and fulfillment amidst the chaos and unpredictability of modern life. As we conclude this exploration, I encourage you to not just contemplate these lessons, but to actively integrate them into your daily routine. Let them be your guide in times of uncertainty, your anchor in times of turmoil, and your beacon of hope in times of darkness. Remember that the journey of personal growth and self-improvement is ongoing and ever-evolving. Each day presents a new opportunity to practice these teachings, to learn, to grow, and to become a better version of ourselves. In the words of Seneca, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Let this be our motivation as we move forward. Embrace these Stoic lessons, apply them in your life, and witness the transformative power they hold. Let them inspire you to live with purpose, act with integrity, and face life's challenges with courage and wisdom. Your journey through Stoicism is not just about self-improvement, it's about crafting a life of meaning, happiness, and fulfillment. Step forward with confidence and enthusiasm, armed with the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, and create a life that resonates with virtue, resilience, and joy. Imagine a world where every accomplishment, every accolade, and every milestone didn't dictate success, where the chase for the next big thing didn't overshadow the journey. What if the true essence of success was far removed from what society has conditioned us to believe? Dive in as we unravel a perspective that might just change the way you see success, and consequently your entire life. In the expansive realm of philosophy and psychology, we've ventured through topics that challenge our perceptions, question our beliefs, and prod at the very essence of our existence. From the intricacies of human behavior to the existential debates of purpose, this channel has always been a haven for those in pursuit of deeper understanding. And today, as always, we'll embark on another enlightening exploration. Many of us define success by the badges of honor society places on certain achievements, whether it's climbing the corporate ladder, owning luxurious items, or even achieving fleeting moments of fame on social media platforms. But what if success isn't about the destination, the attainment of these badges, but more about the journey? What if it's about how you navigate the path, the intentions you set, and the ideals you chase? This leads us to the heart of today's discussion, a quote that captures a perspective so profound, yet so simple. The great Earl Nightingale, a man known for his deep dives into human character and motivation, once said, "Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal." At first glance, this might seem like just another inspirational quote we might find on the backdrop of a scenic sunrise on Instagram. But as with many profound truths, its simplicity is deceptive. Instead of viewing success as a destination, a point we reach after traversing hardships, Nightingale offers us a perspective where success is the journey itself. It's in every step taken towards something you deem worthy, every moment you're in alignment with your ideals, and every day you wake up with purpose, passion, and perseverance. But why is this viewpoint revolutionary? And why does it matter more today than ever before? In today's rapidly changing world, traditional benchmarks of success are evolving, if not entirely disintegrating. The house, the car, the corner office. While all these still hold value, the younger generations in particular are seeking something more, something intangible. They're seeking purpose, fulfillment, and a sense of belonging in a world that's hyper-connected, yet often isolating. Moreover, the digital age, with its relentless pace and endless comparisons, often leaves individuals feeling perpetually inadequate. The goalposts for success constantly shift. By the time you achieve one goal, a new one emerges on the horizon, often accompanied by a sense of emptiness. But what if the real fulfillment was in the journey towards the goal, rather than the goal itself? Nightingale's perspective offers relief from this treadmill of endless pursuit. It offers a moment to pause, reflect, and realign. It speaks to a deeper, intrinsic human need, the need for purpose, for growth, and for a journey that matters. As we dive into this topic today, I invite you to embark on this journey with us, to question, reflect, and perhaps redefine your understanding of success. This isn't just about a quote. It's about a mindset, a way of life, and a perspective that can shape our world for the better. Join me as we unpack the layers of this profound statement, explore its roots in philosophy and psychology, and understand how it can be a beacon of clarity in the often confusing maze of modern life. Let's pivot now to what society often feeds us as the formula for success. Walk into any bookstore and you'll see shelves filled with self-help books preaching the gospel of success. These usually advocate for a straightforward path: excel in school, land a high-paying job, achieve promotions, buy a house, get married. The list goes on. The mantra seems to be, accumulate more, achieve more, and you will be more. The spotlight often shines on material wealth as the most glaring indicator of success. We live in a world where billionaires are idolized and the accumulation of assets is glorified. To some extent, material success has even been democratically crowned as the ultimate life goal. After all, doesn't wealth grant us the freedom and opportunities that we so fervently chase? But let's pause here for a second. Does financial prosperity guarantee happiness? More importantly, does it equate to success in the holistic sense? Nightingale would argue that it does not, especially if the acquisition of wealth is misaligned with what you truly consider to be a worthy ideal. Next in line is the notion of social status. The memberships to elite clubs, the high-profile connections, the social media following, and the admiration, if not envy, of your peers. These are often seen as markers of a life well lived. Social status and the esteem of others have been deeply ingrained in human psychology for millennia. Our ancestors needed social cohesion for survival, but today, this primitive need has been extrapolated to heights that can often be disorienting. The relentless pursuit of status can morph into a Sisyphean task, where the boulder of social expectation keeps rolling back no matter how hard we push. Another glittering emblem on the sash of conventional success is career achievement. Titles, promotions, and accolades, these are the milestones that punctuate the traditional road to success. We've all heard the rags to riches tales of individuals climbing the corporate ladder with determination and grit. While these stories can serve as inspiration, they also propagate a limited perspective. The career-focused vision of success often neglects other realms of life, such as personal well-being, family, and broader societal contributions. So why are these definitions problematic? For starters, they're not universally applicable. What might be a milestone of success for one person could be entirely inconsequential for another. This one-size-fits-all approach doesn't just lack nuance, it can be actively harmful. Imagine the young adult who, despite a burgeoning career, feels an inexplicable emptiness because they've pursued a field for its lucrative prospects rather than its alignment with their passions. Think of the entrepreneur who amasses wealth but loses invaluable connections with family and friends. Picture the social media influencer who, despite thousands of likes and followers, grapples with loneliness and anxiety behind the screen. The repercussions extend into the realm of mental health. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Abnormal Psychology reported increasing rates of depression and psychological distress among young adults in the United States. While several factors contribute to this rising tide, one element that cannot be ignored is the stress and anxiety stemming from societal expectations around success. When we're continuously chasing a mirage crafted by collective norms, the resulting dissonance between reality and expectation can cultivate a breeding ground for mental health issues like anxiety and depression. In some cases, the pursuit of these conventional markers of success can lead to burnout, a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress. It's no surprise that burnout is being increasingly recognized by health organizations as a legitimate medical condition.
Most people don't know what success is all about. And since they don't know what it's about, they really don't know where to look for it. Success is really nothing more than the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. This means that any person who knows what he's doing and where he's going is a success. Any person with a goal toward which he's working is a successful person. This means that the boy in high school who's working toward a diploma, or the boy in college toward a degree, is just as successful as any human being on earth, because he knows what he's doing, why he's getting up in the morning, and where he's going. But conversely, if a person doesn't know what he's working toward, what it is he wants, doesn't have a goal toward which he's working, then he must, at least by this definition, be called unsuccessful. Why isn't then, with this simple definition, why isn't everyone successful? Should be easy. Yet surveys indicate that 19 out of 20, 95% at least, are not. In fact, a survey one time asked thousands of working men why they got up in the morning and went to work, and 19 out of 20 didn't know. 19 out of 20 working people didn't have the foggiest notion of why they got up in the morning and went to work. Under closer questioning, they said, well, everybody works. Well, that would be a good reason to quit. In fact, here's a little rule of thumb you might want to remember. Whatever the great majority is doing under any given circumstance, if you do exactly the opposite, you'll probably never make another mistake as long as you live. Just something to keep in the back of your mind.
By starting with a discussion of conventional success markers, we set the stage for the groundbreaking philosophy that Earl Nightingale presented. We expose the chinks in the armor of a societal construct that many have accepted without question, and from here, we can begin to explore alternative frameworks and attitudes that offer not just a more balanced life, but a profoundly fulfilling one. This is where the progressive realization of a worthy ideal comes into its own as a life philosophy, bringing us a model of success that is both timeless and, in many ways, revolutionary. As we veer away from the limiting parameters of conventional success, let's delve into the psychological frameworks that provide a more holistic understanding of success. After all, psychology doesn't merely study pathology or dysfunction. It also investigates what makes life most worth living. That includes success, however one may define it. To start, let's consider Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Picture a pyramid divided into layers, with the most basic human needs like food and shelter at the bottom, and self-actualization, a state of achieving one's full potential and realizing one's capabilities, at the top. Maslow's theory tells us that we can't focus on higher-level goals until our basic needs are met. Once they are, we can aim for self-esteem needs, like achievement and respect, and finally, strive for self-actualization. Doesn't Maslow's apex sound a lot like what Nightingale referred to as a worthy ideal? Both propose that true success involves fulfilling our highest potential. Importantly, Maslow introduces the idea that what constitutes a worthy ideal might be different at various stages of our lives, depending on which level of the hierarchy we are working to fulfill. This idea liberates us from a static, one-size-fits-all definition of success. Let's build on this with a discussion about motivation, an area in psychology that has significantly evolved over the past decades. Traditional theories often emphasize extrinsic motivation, which is driven by external rewards or punishments. These rewards can range from monetary benefits to social praise, and are usually what conventional views of success focus on. However, the psychological discourse has seen a shift towards the importance of intrinsic motivation, that which comes from within, independent of external rewards. Think of a painter lost in the world of colors and shapes, a musician engrossed in melodies, or even a researcher fueled by pure curiosity. They are motivated by the activity itself, and the success in these activities is inherently satisfying. This brings us back to Nightingale's statement: success, when seen as the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, aligns beautifully with the concept of intrinsic motivation. It's not the external rewards, but the inner fulfillment that defines success here. And intrinsic motivation doesn't just make us happier. Research indicates that it enhances performance, perseverance, and overall well-being. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling, who endured multiple rejections and hardships before publishing the Harry Potter series. What kept her going? It was not the lure of future fame or money. It was her intrinsic motivation, her desire to tell a story she believed in. Now, decades later, it's clear that her worthy ideal wasn't just about writing a bestseller. It was about creating a world that resonated with millions. Here, both intrinsic motivation and the worthy ideal mesh into a beautiful tapestry of what we could consider success. So what does the world stand to gain by shifting its focus from extrinsic to intrinsic motivators? Imagine businesses valuing employees not just for their output, but their creativity. Educational systems that nurture individual capabilities instead of standardizing knowledge. And a society that appreciates people for who they are rather than what they have. This isn't just idealistic pondering, it's a model supported by decades of research in human psychology. When we talk about the psychology of success, we are inherently discussing the psychology of well-being. They are two sides of the same coin. Studies have shown that intrinsic motivation not only elevates personal performance, but also contributes to mental health. And this is the juncture where psychology lends scientific credence to Nightingale's definition of success. As we weave through these psychological theories, we'll find that they not only illuminate but also validate Nightingale's wisdom. His definition beckons us to focus on a holistic, fulfilling, and above all, individualized understanding of success, one that nourishes the mind as much as it fuels ambition. And isn't that what we all are ultimately striving for? So the next time you find yourself questioning your path or feeling confined by society's narrow definitions of success, remember this. Success is not just about reaching a destination, but also about enjoying the journey, especially when it's directed towards realizing an ideal you hold worthy. As we transition from psychology, let's now immerse ourselves in the deep waters of philosophy to gain another perspective on success. Philosophy and its myriad frameworks offer us not just wisdom, but also a historical context. It's like looking at a map of human thought on the concept of a successful or good life. Let's start by stepping back a few millennia to ancient Greece. Philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle grappled with the concept of the good life or eudaimonia, often interpreted as happiness or flourishing. For Aristotle, eudaimonia was intrinsically tied to virtue and reasoned contemplation. A life dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge, the practice of virtue, and the development of character constituted a life well lived. Here we see remarkable parallels with Nightingale's worthy ideal. For Aristotle, the worthy ideal was a virtuous character and the rational activity that emanated from it. The pursuit itself, the active engagement with virtue and wisdom, constituted the good life. There was no endpoint, only a continuous striving, a progressive realization, if you will, which is strikingly similar to what Nightingale proposed. We also see this in Stoicism, a philosophy that originated in Greece but gained widespread influence in Rome through philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. For the Stoics, success was about cultivating inner tranquility through the mastery of one's desires and emotional responses. Stoicism urges us to focus on what we can control, our actions and attitudes, rather than external events. This autonomy of inner life aligns with Nightingale's idea of personal responsibility in achieving a worthy ideal. As we fast forward to more modern times, existentialism offers another riveting lens through which to examine success. Existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus argued that life has no inherent meaning. Instead, individuals must create their own essence through their actions and choices. In other words, you're responsible for the goals you set and the worthy ideals you pursue. This philosophy compels us to confront our freedoms and the inherent responsibilities that come with them. We are free to define our worthy ideal and thereby our own version of success. But this freedom also mandates that we bear the burden of these choices. We can't outsource our life's meaning to society's shifting values or ephemeral trends. This ties back elegantly to Nightingale's assertion that the pursuit of a personally defined, worthy ideal constitutes success. Let's not forget that philosophy isn't solely the purview of the Western world. Eastern philosophies like Buddhism, Taoism, and the Hindu concept of Dharma also grapple with what makes a life worthy. These philosophies often focus on the concept of balance, harmony, and interconnectedness, adding another layer of complexity to our exploration. While the worthy ideal in these traditions might involve transcending the self, the community, or even the material world, they also provide various roadmaps to what could be considered a successful life. So why delve into philosophy when discussing a seemingly practical topic like success? Because it allows us to step back and ask more fundamental questions. What kind of life is worth living? What should one strive for? What constitutes a good or successful life in the first place? These questions remind us that the idea of success is deeply rooted in philosophical thought, and through the ages, thinkers have presented diverse yet complementary paths to arrive at a fulfilling life. it's crucial to acknowledge that these philosophies aren't mutually exclusive. They can coexist and even complement each other in enriching our understanding of success. So whether it's the virtuous life of Aristotle, the Stoic focus on inner peace, or the existential freedom of creating our own meaning, each offers a piece of the puzzle. And like Nightingale, they all seem to whisper in unison, success is not a destination but a journey, a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. After swimming through the ocean of psychology and trekking through the mountainous terrain of philosophy, let's now focus the lens directly onto the heart of Nightingale's definition, the worthy ideal. This term, although seemingly self-explanatory, is like an onion, revealing more layers the more we peel it back.
We know that he works 40 hours a week as a rule. 40 hours a week, which leaves him 72 hours a week when he's neither working nor sleeping. 72 free, discretionary hours each week to do with as he pleases. At this point, of course, he's married, he has his little house and his little car. And this is about what he does with his free 72 hours every week. He'll do what the other fellows are doing with their free 72 hours every week, which is virtually nothing at all. On a typical day, he'll quit right on the dot, get in his little car, go to his little house, go in his little kitchen, kiss his little wife and say, "I'm tired." They've even figured out why he says that. The experts believe that he used to hear his father say that back when men used to get tired working during the day, and he picked it up and he repeats this every night when he gets home. He bolts his little meal and then heads for the living room where he turns on his escape box. Click. But he sits there for 6.5 hours until finally his wife, who's a little more practical than he is, taps him on the shoulder and she said, "Charlie, I think it's about time you went to bed. You've got to get up in the morning and go to work." And he's okay, and he shuts it off. He knows how to do that. He just shuts it off and goes to bed. Next morning he gets up and he does this all over again. He does this every day for 40 years. At the end of 40 years, he's retired, which always kind of catches him by surprise. No one's ever figured that one out either. And then he dies at 85 or 90, the way medical science is moving us along, out of sheer boredom. Well, what's the problem? Is there a tragedy here? Not really, if that's the way Charlie wants to spend his life, our mythical, hypothetical young man. If he wants to spend his life that way, that's his business. He lives in a free society, he can do anything with it he wants. But there's a terrible tragedy here if he's living that way because of the total lack of a decision. If he's living that way simply because he's still doing what he was doing in the first and second grade, and that's going along with the fellas up and down the block on the unspoken assumption that they know how to live, then there's a real tragedy there. Because they've never known how to live, not in all the recorded history of mankind. He never finds out who he is. He never reaches into the deep depths of his abilities, his talents. He never learns that he can have just about anything he wants in the world, that he can call his own shots, tell his own fortune. And it's kind of a pity.
Let's begin with the vast cultural landscapes that shape our notions of what a worthy ideal might entail. Consider the American dream, deeply entrenched in the culture of the United States, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are celebrated ideals. Here, a worthy ideal often manifests as social mobility, financial security, and individual freedom. Now contrast this with a collectivist society like Japan, where social harmony, or wa, takes precedence. Here, a worthy ideal might be contributing to society and maintaining social equilibrium, even if it comes at the cost of individual ambitions or desires. In cultures deeply rooted in spiritual traditions, such as parts of India or Tibet, a worthy ideal may focus on spiritual enlightenment and the well-being of the community, rather than personal material gain. Each culture, with its unique history, values, and social constructs, molds what its inhabitants may regard as a worthy ideal. But culture is just one part of the puzzle. As individuals, we all have our unique blend of experiences, beliefs, and values. What may be a worthy ideal for one person may not hold the same gravitas for another. A musician might find their worthy ideal in creating an original composition that stirs the soul, while an environmental activist might see it in effective climate advocacy. Worthy ideals can be mutable. As we grow and learn, our understanding of what is worthy can and often does shift. The business person who once found success in scaling a company might later find a new worthy ideal in philanthropy or mentoring the next generation. Now, why is defining a worthy ideal so crucial? Well, the ideals you pursue set the trajectory for your life's course. Think of them as the North Star guiding your actions, decisions, and pursuits. When your personal ideals are in alignment with your long-term life objectives, there's a sense of coherence and purpose in what you do. This alignment is not just ethereal or abstract. It has practical implications. Studies have shown that alignment between personal values and life goals contributes to greater well-being and can even have a protective factor against stress and life's inevitable setbacks. Furthermore, this alignment ensures that your energies are channeled effectively. Every action you take becomes a step toward the progressive realization of your worthy ideal, which in turn adds a layer of fulfillment and meaning to your existence. But what happens when there's a misalignment? A sense of discord or cognitive dissonance arises. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. No matter how hard you push, it just doesn't fit. And this discord can lead to unhappiness, stress, and even a sense of failure, even when you're achieving other markers of success. As you embark on the journey to identify or reevaluate your worthy ideal, remember that it doesn't have to be grandiose or universally acknowledged. It just has to be significant to you. It should resonate with your deepest convictions, highest aspirations, and should ideally be steeped in a value system that you respect. After all, a worthy ideal, as Nightingale pointed out, is personal. It's your compass in the sea of life's possibilities. In the grand tapestry of life, understanding and striving for your worthy ideal is not merely an act of personal fulfillment, but a radical act of self-definition. It's about carving out your own path in a world that often insists on handing you a map, and it's this audacious act that transforms the pursuit of success into a rich, nuanced, and deeply satisfying journey. Having delved into the depths of what constitutes a worthy ideal, it's time to examine the other essential component of Nightingale's formula for success, the progressive realization. After all, what good is having a compass if you're not willing to move? Success is not just about setting a goal, it's about the journey, the continual pursuit and evolution toward that ideal. So let's dig into why progress, in many ways, is the engine that drives the vehicle of success. In various domains of life, be it business, science, art, or personal development, the most revered figures are often those who continually refine their craft. Think of athletes who break records, artists who revolutionize genres, or scientists who make groundbreaking discoveries. What they all have in common is a relentless focus on improvement, a ceaseless striving that embodies the very essence of the progressive realization Nightingale spoke of. Continuous improvement isn't just about big monumental leaps, it's also about small incremental changes that accumulate over time. This is often captured by the Japanese concept of kaizen, which emphasizes the value of small, consistent improvements. Over time, these little advancements add up, creating a snowball effect that leads to substantial growth and, eventually, mastery. In psychological terms, progress satisfies our inherent need for competence, one of the three basic psychological needs identified by self-determination theory. When we see ourselves making headway toward our goals, it fuels our intrinsic motivation, leading us to engage more deeply in the activity at hand. This forms a virtuous cycle where progress fuels motivation, which in turn fuels further progress. Moreover, progress serves as a litmus test, a way to measure the validity and feasibility of our worthy ideal. Sometimes, despite our best intentions, we choose ideals that are misaligned with our capabilities or circumstances. Progress, or the lack thereof, serves as feedback, offering us a chance to pivot or refine our goals, ensuring that our ideals remain not just worthy, but also realistic and attainable. At this juncture, it would be almost criminal not to introduce the groundbreaking work of psychologist Carol Dweck, particularly her concept of the growth mindset. Dweck contrasts a fixed mindset, where individuals believe their abilities are static, with a growth mindset, where individuals see abilities as malleable and improvable through effort. The growth mindset is not just a mental framework, it's a fundamental philosophy that directly affects our approach toward challenges, failures, and ultimately, our worthy ideals. In the landscape of success, a growth mindset serves as the fertile soil where the seeds of progress take root. It encourages resilience, fosters innovation, and mitigates the fear of failure. By viewing challenges as opportunities to grow and effort as the pathway to mastery, individuals with a growth mindset are far more likely to engage in the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. What's beautiful about Nightingale's concept is how it implicitly advocates for a growth mindset. The worthy ideal gives you a direction, while the progressive realization equips you with the attitude and approach necessary for the journey. Together, they create a balanced equation where the ideal serves as the why, and the progressive realization serves as the how. To truly engage in the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, you have to cultivate a love for the process, not just the outcome. Progress becomes not just the means to an end, but a rewarding end in itself. When each day, each task, each challenge becomes a step on the spiraling staircase toward your ideal, then you are not just successful. You are deeply, profoundly engaged in the act of living successfully. In that sense, every moment becomes a victory, every effort a triumph, and every setback a lesson. Now that we've examined the theoretical underpinnings of Nightingale's profound observation, let's get practical. After all, understanding the philosophy and psychology behind success is enriching, but it's the application of these principles that will ultimately manifest your worthy ideal into reality.
Our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our contribution, to our service. We all know this, really. We tell our children in Sunday school that as ye sow, so shall ye reap, but we forget that that's true. If a man is unhappy with his rewards, all in the world he's got to do is find ways of increasing his contribution, his service. It's like the story of the preacher who was driving down a country road, and all of a sudden he came to the most magnificent farm he'd ever seen in his life. It was beautiful. And so he saw the farmer approaching the road on his tractor, and so he hailed him, and he said, "My good man," he said, "God has certainly blessed you with a magnificent farm." And the farmer thought for a moment, and he said, "Yes, you're right, he certainly has. But you should have seen this place when he had it all to himself." And the preacher had his sermon for the next Sunday. He realized that all the farmers up and down that road had been given the same land, but one man had made something great out of it. Well, all of us are given the same land. We're given a human life, and each of us can make something great out of it too if we want to.
In this section, we'll delve into actionable steps for goal setting, planning, and tracking your progress, as well as discuss why qualities like resilience and adaptability are indispensable on your journey. Firstly, goal setting should not be an exercise in listing down abstract and ill-defined ambitions. Effective goals are SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Specificity offers a clear vision, measurability allows you to track your progress, attainability keeps you realistic, relevance ensures alignment with your worthy ideal, and a time frame provides a sense of urgency. These SMART goals become the rungs on the ladder towards your ideal, guiding each step you take. For instance, if your worthy ideal is to contribute to medical research, a SMART goal might be: publish a research paper on a breakthrough therapy in a peer-reviewed journal within the next 2 years. This goal is specific, measurable, potentially achievable, relevant to your worthy ideal, and time-bound. Now that your SMART goals are in place, it's time to strategize. Break down your goals into smaller tasks and prioritize them. Use tools like the Eisenhower matrix to distinguish between what's urgent and what's important. Then, allocate your time and resources accordingly. Software and apps like Asana, Trello, or even a simple Excel sheet can be effective tools to keep you organized and on track. The planning phase also involves identifying potential obstacles and coming up with contingency plans. By anticipating challenges, you're not just problem-solving in advance. You're psychologically preparing yourself to face difficulties, thereby reducing the adverse impact they might have on your motivation and progress. Tracking your progress. This is where many people falter, mainly because tracking progress requires a continuous commitment. It's easy to set a goal and even to plan, but the rubber meets the road when you start implementing and assessing. Use key performance indicators, KPIs, or specific milestones to gauge your progress. Keep a journal or use digital tracking systems to monitor how you're doing. The act of tracking is not just for accountability, it also serves as a motivating feedback loop. As much as we'd love for the path toward our worthy ideal to be a straight, obstacle-free road, life usually has other plans. This is where resilience and adaptability come into play. Resilience is about bouncing back from setbacks and failures without losing your sense of purpose or self-worth. Adaptability is about adjusting your strategies and expectations in response to unforeseen challenges without losing sight of your ultimate ideal. Incorporate reflective practices like journaling or mindfulness to build resilience. These help in enhancing self-awareness, thereby empowering you to deal with setbacks in a more balanced way. Adaptability can be fostered by developing a diverse skill set and cultivating a network of mentors and peers who can offer different perspectives when you encounter roadblocks. Your journey towards a worthy ideal will never be a static endeavor. It's a dynamic, evolving process that demands continuous input and adaptability. By setting SMART goals, planning strategically, tracking your progress, and fostering resilience and adaptability, you are equipping yourself with a robust toolkit to make your worthy ideal a reality. Remember, as you navigate the intricate path towards your ideal, each day offers a new opportunity to enact mini successes, to take one more step in the progressive realization of what you find worthy. In doing so, not only do you get closer to your ultimate goal, but you also enrich the journey itself, turning it into a rewarding experience that defines success in the most holistic sense.
At the beginning, I said, what makes a child grow up into the human being he becomes? Well, this is the reason for that. Of course, he's the confluence of a genetic pool that goes back for thousands and thousands of years. His environment has an influence on him, of course. But what makes him become the person he becomes is that he becomes what he thinks about most of the time. It's as simple as that. We become what we think about most of the time, and that's the strangest secret. This is why thinking is so vital. This is why a goal is so important, because we will become that. This is why people who set goals achieve them. The trouble with men is not in achieving their goals. They do that. It's in establishing them. I think it's good to remember that if we just go along with the crowd, we won't wind up with much more than the wish that we could do it all over again, and as far as we know, you can't. If we want to amount to anything as individuals, we need individual goals, individual thinking, individual actions, and we must never conform to the big group. We must love them, we must help them, we must serve them, because our whole success will depend on our ability to do these things. But never lose our own individuality and our identity by permitting ourselves to become submerged in what has historically proved itself to be little more than a suffocating sea of indirection and purposelessness. If we want to emulate someone, fine, but let's be choosy in whose steps we follow. It's the only life we've got. And remember to think. Imagination is everything, and we can become what we can imagine.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the philosophy and psychology of success, let's revisit the profound yet simple Earl Nightingale quote that has served as our compass. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. We've peeled back the layers on this concept, venturing from its traditional definitions, marred by materialism and external validation, to an interpretation that is rooted in psychological and philosophical wisdom. From the Maslow's hierarchy of needs to the influence of existentialism and classical philosophy on the notion of a worthy ideal, we've covered a substantial theoretical ground. But we've also delved into the practical, actionable steps, common pitfalls, and the transformative potential for both individuals and society at large. As we near the end, I want to leave you with this final thought. Understanding success as a journey and not a destination can be the key to a fulfilling life. It liberates us from the shackles of societal expectations, grants us the courage to define our own worthy ideal, and equips us with the tools to navigate the inevitable obstacles we'll encounter along the way. This perspective allows us to engage deeply with our life's work, to build meaningful relationships, and to contribute to a world in dire need of every individual's unique offerings. In this moment of unparalleled complexity, as we grapple with existential threats from climate change to social inequality, never has there been a more urgent need for a comprehensive and humane definition of success. One that honors the dignity of the individual, but also respects the interconnected web of our collective existence. So, as you move forward, ponder on your worthy ideal, because success isn't a distant summit to be conquered, but the very ground you tread upon each day in pursuit of what truly matters. Remember, the more we as individuals commit to our worthy ideals, the more we inch society toward a future that is not just successful in a traditional sense, but also wise, equitable, and compassionate. So let's take this concept beyond mere theoretical discussion. Let's live it, embody it, and propagate it. This isn't just a philosophy. It's a call to action, a blueprint for a life rich in meaning and a world abundant in purpose.